Is it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Hectic white rabbit racing against the clock, but Alice had another thought. She knew she ruled the plot, so she ate this and drank that. Was simple as tit for tat. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. A caterpillar smoke rings, he really thought he knew things. Two sides to the same thing, blowing smoke rings, cool and cryptic, but Alice didn't miss it. Big or small, Alice would not fall. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Floating smiles disappearing, sitting in a tree, smiling constantly. A type of madness with clarity, as the Cheshire Cat kept grinning. Alice took what she could and headed back into the woods. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Mad Hatter tea party with dormers and hair, they could have lost their minds anywhere, but it was neither here nor there, for Alice really didn't care. Tea time with madmen, a swamp of thoughts. Alice got up and walked off. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Unbothered so far, the Queen of Hearts with her guards. You're nothing but a pack of cards. You can paint the roses red and be off with their heads, but I'm still asleep in my bed. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Alice remained unbothered, you see, for she knew it was all just a dream.
Yeah. All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. What's going on, guys? Oh, man. This is not working. Okay. This is weird, man. I don't know if it's a YouTube or my phone. I was trying to get it going there. Scott Baker, where castles built to keep out those pesky werewolves. What are you talking about, Scott? What is that? All right. So what do we got going on tonight? I mean, we have Bigfoot habitation. We have a guest coming on. And of course, we have the usual. We're going to talk about all kinds of weird stuff. So here's a weird thing. Like, I had somebody reach out to me. This is weird. Like, it's kind of funny too. And I'll start with this. Let me get my guest on, and she can participate immediately because she's in the chat. I don't in the queue. I don't want to leave her hanging. Very nice person. Let's get going here. Dang it. There we go. Hey, Barb. How you doing?
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm doing fine. How are you, Josh?
Good.
Good.
So those that don't know, this is Barb Hartman. And do you go by Barb Horn Hartman or Bob Hart?
Barb Hartman.
Barb Hartman, yeah.
that's-
She's one of the many beautiful ladies of Paranormal, does this. She was on the show with Nellie and with Maddie. And then we had Jesse Doyle from Helbin Holler, Monica Rollins from Our Paranormal World, and of course, Kristen Brandy from Blondes and Booze.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were on that show. Now, I apologize because I tried to remember everybody and I forgot you. I've named everybody.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
I felt bad. I was like, I hope she didn't notice that and think I was just
No, I didn't. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, because that's not me. I was just, because somebody
No.
messaged me. They're like, what about Barb Hartman? She's on there too.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you, whomever did that. But no, I'm
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it was like a fake account. I could tell. It said Barb Hardman. And I was like, what?
Oh, bro. Yeah.
I'm joking. I was like, is
You
this
never know.
Barb trolling me? No, I'm just kidding.
You
wouldn't
never
make
know.
sense. You're not like that.
Geez,
You
if
know,
it was a fake account, I wonder who it could be.
I don't know. I mean, whoever it was, they probably have skin problems. That's all. I'm not going to go any further than that, but that would be my guess.
Mhm.
It seems like that goes hand in hand. But yeah, so we're not going to get into that. So here's the thing: you have a show now, right? You have a podcast.
Yeah. I had a show for a while and then I kind of got away from it because it was honestly just interfering too much with my research and my I like I said, I'm in a habitation situation, so there's Bigfoot living around me, and I really try to foster like a good relationship with them, and I put a lot of work into that, and time, and I just felt like it was too much. So stepped back for a while, got a lot of my stuff caught up, and now I'm doing some stuff with Kenny Thibodeau and Brian Barber, where we do Camp Nightmare Fuel. It's just kind of going into the stories that are so scary that they don't even seem like they could be real, but they are. Yeah. And and then I just restarted Open the Door on my own channel, but I just it takes a lot of work, Josh, like how much work it takes. I mean, holy,
it is an enormous effort.
People have no idea. It's funny. Somebody, you get like these troll comments, and somebody commented today on one of my videos that you're just doing this for the money. I'm like, wait,
yeah, I wish.
Where's the money, right? Where's the money?
I mean, if you watch our show, we're a decent size, but I mean, some days we don't hardly get anything. I mean, it's just, you're just here,
Yeah.
And, it's barely enough to keep the doors open, but
yeah,
it is what it is,
Yep.
So here's a funny thing that happened to me, Barb, and to the audience. So I get this email this morning. I was going to bed and I saw it in there, and I was like, I wanted to not open it. I wanted to go to sleep, get some rest.
Yeah.
But I opened it.
Uh-oh.
And boy, oh boy, was it ridiculous.
Oh, no.
So this person began an argument with me, and then I go to sleep. I wake up. I didn't go to bed till like, it was like 10 o'clock, which is not normal for me to go to bed way earlier. And I wake up at like 4.
Okay. So
I get about 5 hours, right? And this person is still going, machine gun messaging me. So it was a woman, it was a female. I figured that out because they sent me a voice message and they were just mad. They were like, I sent you a story 8 months ago. I looked high and low for this story that this person sent me, and she voicemailed me, and I was like on Messenger, and I listened, and she was just irate. She's like, I can't believe I ever trusted you. I should have known better. I should have gave it to, she named like 12 different people, and I'm like listening. And I go back in the emails, I go into the folders, I go into the files. I don't see anything from this person, like nothing. I talked to Anthony, Tony, nobody knows who this person is. And so I messaged this person back and I said, I don't think you gave me your story. I don't find any, I don't know what the story was not, she was in a kayak. I don't remember doing, and it was near Alaska, and a Bigfoot was under the water, and she kept saying,
"Oh, like that's something you would remember." Like, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah. So she messages me. So then after she gets over her anger for a little bit, then she messages me back and she says, "Oh, I made a horrible mistake, blah, blah, blah." And so I messaged her back and I said, "Okay, if you want to send the story, that's fine." And I was like, and so then we ended up communicating. And so I got an incredible story, but dude, hours and hours of this person just berating me and saying that they sent, and then they figured out that they had sent it to someone else. And so yeah, and then that person claimed that they didn't remember it. So I don't know what that situation is, but she
Yeah.
said she sent me the story. She's like, here it is in its entirety. And so I read it. It was pretty, yeah. But I was like, I would have remembered. I remember, like, I have had a lot of crazy stuff come across my desk, but I would have remembered. And I kept telling us, I think I would have remembered that because I don't think I've done one like that. So I know
No,
there were some guys in a canoe,
yeah.
not a canoe, a fishing boat that Monica Rollins was on. And I was like, but I don't and I talked to that guy just the other day, Rudy. His son was in an accident down in Florida. So they were, so, you know, hearts and thoughts for
Yeah,
them,
of course.
prayers,
Prayers, obviously.
but yeah, so I talked to him just the other day, and so we were supposed to hook up, and he's gonna give us some more information about what happened to him. He's Native American, but this woman, I just couldn't believe it, and she had some really cool stuff. Like, she believes in the Kushtaka, and that one of her relatives was attacked by one, which is Kushtaka. A lot of people think that's a Bigfoot. That's not really a Bigfoot. That's the otter people or the tailmen.
Oh.
And so I was like, yeah, that's crazy. But what she saw, she described it in the story. She kept referring to it as a squatch. I don't know if it was. It could have been one of the Kushtaka. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. But it was just like all day. Like, I woke up and it was like 12.
I don't understand how people have the I don't know. What drives you to do that? I don't. I mean,
and she apologized profusely, and I said, "Look, you know,
still, like, even to right off the whatever, you know, right off the bat to get. I mean, it's obviously. I mean, was she like traumatized about it? I think
so.
Maybe that's why. Because
you know, and I'm not going to badmouth her because she didn't give me the story or whatever, but she was. It's just a point of like what I go through, and I did ask her permission. I'm not even saying her name. You know, she gave me permission to too, but I was like, I'm not gonna say your name on this because, you know, I'm gonna say this is what I deal with. And she's like, yeah, and I totally. She was very I messed up, and I told her, I said I would remember. I mean, I have a pretty good memory when it comes to these things, and I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, except especially something like that. That's like you said, I've talked to people that from a boat and but they see them on land. I've not talked to anybody.
Well, they get in the water.
They will. They do.
Oh,
they
yeah,
swim.
absolutely. Yeah.
They do because I live on the Puget Sound, and there are some Sasquatch that are living on islands within the Puget Sound, and you can't walk over there, and there's no, you know, there's not a bridge. So unless they're taking some boats, they definitely swim.
And you know that they're considered. We had a guest on a Monday night. We have a lot of people that jump in. And this one guy, he came on and he's Indian by his heritage, by his race, from India.
Okay.
But his family was from Suriname, down in South America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's predominantly African and Indian immigrants that live there. And there's French and Dutch, whatever. But he lived there, and he was on the show, and he was talking about the Bigfoot creature. I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head. But dude, it's a water spirit. Oh. And I remember I kept telling him, I was like, it's a water spirit. And he goes, no, it's a Bigfoot. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's still a water spirit. That's what it's considered as a water spirit. Oh. And we looked it up, and that was what it was. It was considered a water spirit. There's a lot of these creatures, even like these panthers and wolves, and people see them come up out of the water. And so I think that speaks to like the level of spiritualness of these beings, and that they do change their form. You know, and some of them choose to take the form of whatever, and they go up on land and they run around. There was a story. I had a guy from India recently. He was from Bengali, and that was an interesting one. I'm not going to get real far into it, but his name was Kurush, and he told me Kurush was an interesting guy to talk to. That there was this tiger that had been killing a lot of people during his grandfather's time.
Oh.
That was during World War II. And so there were a lot of people from that region that went and fought for the British. And they were coming back and they were wounded. Some of them had lost limbs and stuff. So this
Mhm.
tiger had gone in and started unaliving people in that village. And then when they went to shoot this thing, it would run and jump into the water and it wouldn't resurface. And then they would see it like miles away. And you're like, how did it stay under the water? Like,
Yeah.
eventually they came to the conclusion that it was a water spirit. You know, he's got a really strong accent, and I don't speak a lot of Indian dialects. So
Mhm.
he had his niece talking to me. She speaks really good English, and she lives in Canada, and she was like translating. It came out, but I got to do his, and that story's crazy. And when you would think about like this ghost in the darkness type story from like Africa, but it happens way more often in India with these tigers. It has happened over and over again. And I think some of these things are of a spiritual nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, be looking for that, folks. We're going to be doing that one. And then we have the other one with the lady, which I think is Akustika. And I'm going to say this, she was very nice once we got it straightened out. She apologized about a dozen times, but she sent me about a dozen messages and just kept saying, I can't believe I trusted you.
Oh
You just threw it in the waste bin. And then she called Tony a knucklehead.
See that? Yeah. I mean,
But he is.
come on.
He's like, or maybe your knucklehead nephew threw it away. And so I couldn't stop laughing. I told Tony, I said, look at this. Look at what you make people do.
He's
And
like,
he goes,
he's like, no.
he's like,
No, I don't believe it.
story. Yeah, yeah. Shh, that never
Yeah.
gonna see the light of day. He misses the trash can too, by the way, in that skit. It was a hoot though. I thought it was funny. I was like, dang, this woman just she called Tony a knucklehead.
Yeah.
And then
That's
Tony's
a
like,
really cool experience though. Like,
yeah,
wow.
well,
Actually,
cool to talk about for
Ooh.
us, Barb, but for her it was like terrifying.
that would be terrifying because
Well, she ended up in the water with the thing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
No,
so I looked up some videos too, like after that, like this afternoon, I was just sitting there, you know, and I was like, so I looked up videos of encounters with in a kayak, and there was one with a shark.
Oh
And the
my
dude's
God.
got a GoPro. There were people in the comments saying it was AI, but I think I remember this. It was like in San Francisco Bay, and there was a great white that went up and popped that dude off of his kayak, and he caught part of it on a GoPro. And when he goes under, you see that shark right there.
Oh.
And then you just see him crawling back onto the kayak, and he's like, his legs are, I'm assuming his legs are still dangling in the water, and that's usually what gets taken out by a great white.
Yeah.
And you could, from the GoPro, you could kind of see, you know, the shore. And then there was another video where a guy jumped off of a cliff right there in the bay. And as soon as he jumps in, you see this shark kind of swimming around, and he comes back up and he's like, "Oh, shark!" Oh. And his friends are like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "No, he's not okay. There's a great white like right there." I mean,
but
that's
they're in there. That's where, they're there. Like,
there's a seal colony, Barb, right there in San Francisco. Yeah, I forgot the name of that market.
Oh my gosh,
I've been there a couple times.
Fisherman's Pier.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have that great market. Oh my gosh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's an incredible place.
But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the Bigfoot habitation. So let's get to it. Like what do you got going on? Tell me what you have going on.
Well, it started when we bought the house in September of 2017, and the house is in Pierce County, Washington, which is actually like has the #1 sightings of Sasquatch, supposedly. I mean, at that time, I don't know what it is now, but the highest, you know, in the nation. I'm not sure where we're at now. I'm sure we're pretty high. And about let's see, maybe 6-7 months after that, my husband found a big print under our house because our house is sits on like a steep lot, and so the back of the house, you know, is like all exposed. I mean, you can walk under it. It's like, I don't know, 30 feet, 40 feet high maybe. And he was like, he knew that I've been into Sasquatch for years, and he's like, I got to show Barb this, but I want to make sure what it is. Now, my husband grew up on a farm. He's a hunter. He did some trapping when he was younger. So, you know, he knew that this was, looked just like a human footprint. It definitely wasn't a bear or whatever. So he showed me, and I was like, oh wow. Then within a day or two of that, like I said, living on the Puget Sound, so the beaches are very rocky, and there's some massive boulders, that are buried down into the sand, down into the rocks. It's impossible for just a human, even several humans. I mean, they have to use like, what are they, like excavators and stuff. There were a few that were just upended and turned over on the beach, and we're like, whoa, how did that happen? So that I haven't seen that since then. We haven't seen that since then, but they're very active. Like I can hear them. Just last night I was listening to them. They either slam their hands down on the water, or they take maybe big rocks and they're throwing them in at things to catch them. I'm not sure, because it's very loud. It's pretty cool to listen to. So fast forward. Okay. With finding the footprints, not really anything so that was in April of 2018. Fast forward to March of 2022, because there hadn't been anything between that. And we wake up one morning and one of the hillsides is like just torn up, and it has it's held together because there's a lot of erosion when you live on a steep lot. And so it just basically holds this one hillside kind of up. And what is holding it together, they're called kinnick or winterberry or bearberry. Mm-hmm. And this stuff is hard. I mean, when you try to clip it, like we've broken, garden instruments trying to cut this stuff. So I was like, what in the world? Now we knew it wasn't something. What would do that? A raccoon definitely is not strong enough. A bear possibly, but we have had a perimeter of security cameras that go all around our house. So if it was something like a bear, we would have definitely caught it. And then, all right, so we find that. And then about 2 weeks after that, I go out and I see that there's little red berries that have been pulled off of these vines, and they're sitting like in little piles, like everywhere. Now, again, this doesn't mean like, oh, that's definitely Sasquatch. That's, but just these things that kept happening. We live we live within these woods, deep woods. And I started seeing some weird, like wood structures. And one of them was, I call it a wood igloo, because it looks just like an igloo, but it's made of branches, and they're even kind of like woven together. And so all this stuff, again, I was, I've always been into Bigfoot. So kind of had friends in the, researchers and stuff. Then what made me realize that, okay, what we did, it was, let me see, August of 2022. We were preparing for wildfire season. So the forest alongside of the back of our house is the closest to our house. We kind of just cleaned up all the dead, debris and anything that would catch fire super easily if anything happened. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool, because now we had a beautiful view right into the forest. Now I just want to see, there's like a grove of aspen trees, and I want to see that. Again, I'm not thinking anything about, I really, really wasn't thinking about Sasquatch. But the next morning we come out and there's a big tree break about 15 feet up. I mean, just your typical cliche tree break. And my husband even said, well, Barb, look what your friends did. So then a few days after that, another tree had been, which was a much smaller tree, it had been pushed over. So here's the original one. This other one is pushed over, and now it's tucked under this tree. So now you have there was like a perfect X. And
that is absolutely, we can't sit here and 100% say, oh, that's Sasquatch, but we have done a lot of like searches on some properties, just to go out and see for ourselves. And we've recorded some of it. And it's always way up there. It's like they're letting like they're here, and it's up to you to see it. And
Yeah.
they're in that area, and you have to be real careful. And people they don't care. And then they have an encounter, and they're like, it came out of nowhere.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
right there because
Mhm.
people don't realize they're walking right into their habitation.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They tell you. Jerry and Ella Williams do a really good job of like showing people, and like they have a book, what is it? The Predator, Bigfoot, and the Spiritual Warrior's Path. Man, they point out like all the signs, and when we've been out in places, we have seen those signs. What's really crazy is my friend has a place. I'm not going to take up too much time because you're in a roll here, but
Oh no.
he has a place out in Cistern. I've talked about him on the show. He's had a Dogman encounter and then something else. I don't really know what it was, but he's a good friend of mine. He's got 3 bar and grills, and he's got one out there in Cistern. And he had sent me information about the habitation, and then it was like once people started going out there and looking, it's like it disappeared. Like they cleared it up.
Oh,
Like they
yeah.
came back, and now it just looks like the tree branches have been messed with, but they're trimmed. It's weird. Like it's so crazy. Like
Mhm.
these creatures have a lot of. I mean, they're way more intelligent than people think.
Oh, for sure.
They're not animals. I'm telling you.
No. And I honestly started out thinking that that's what they were, just some big
Ape.
undiscovered, ape, North American
Mhm.
ape, and that's what but oh no. So all right, so finding that, I was like, okay, now I want to go out and see if I can actually start to like research like a real process, of researching, start to see if there's evidence or, signs, whatever. And a good friend of mine who has been very successful, Mike Scott, he said, well, if you're going to go out, you definitely don't want to take your phone. Like if you take your phone, but don't have it turned on because you're not going to see or hear a Bigfoot. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to have my phone and I'm going to turn it on because I was not prepared to see or hear a Bigfoot at that point. I mean, I was, it's cool to think about it, but it's also super scary. So I just kept my phone in a lanyard, in a plastic pouch in a lanyard, just walking around in the forest in that area alongside of our house and like kind of further in because there's miles and miles of forest. And I would do that frequently. So I thought, this isn't going to seem like anything that's weird, to them. I did find some odd structures that looked almost like bushcraft kind of things, and so I'm like, I don't know, is that Sasquatch? It shouldn't be humans because what it is, it's like a private family, like a just private property that I, very fortunate to have permission to go and just hike around on it. So again, I know that there's not anybody in there just goofing around and doing bushcraft. And actually then a couple months after I had my son and I went back in and he's like, no, Mom, because where it is, it's way too dangerous for a human to set up this kind of a structure. I mean, it was cool. It's like against two. So there's 2 trees and they had, like against a hillside and they had, like pieces of wood along for a roof. And then they have all kinds of stuff piled on top of it. It was really cool. But also if you step out of that, you are going to fall over a cliff into the Puget Sound. So not something that humans should be there. But again, that doesn't, 100% that doesn't mean. But what happened that day when I was walking around that first day is I actually got grunted at when I got close to the, to that wood igloo thing. And it was the deep, scared me. I don't want to say it scared me to death. Yeah, at the time it did. I kind of backed up and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that? I forgot that I had my camera going. Long story short, I got it. I was able to get it on, on my phone, recorded on my phone. But another kind of interesting thing after that. Now, listen, I didn't know anything about they say about when people are hit with infrasound or they're zapped or whatever. And I don't know what your, beliefs are on that. But after that thing grunted at me, I backed up and I thought I'm not going to run because if it's I knew it wasn't a dog. I don't know what else would grunt. We don't have hogs or any like that. So, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's probably hogs. We don't have wild hogs in Washington State. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to run because I don't want it to chase me if it's some kind of a predator. So I just backed up, slowly turned around, and I'm walking away. And I was hit with this incredible amount of just like disorientation, vertigo, like, oh my gosh. Then as soon as it came over me, it left. And I'm like, what am I doing? I wasn't even walking like toward my house. I was walking away toward a ravine. So correct. I'm like, oh my gosh, because that's how like out of it I was, corrected my course, walking back toward the house. And I could see a roof line of one of our outbuildings. And then that hit me again. And I just kept walking toward that roof line. And once I got to the property line, the feeling just left. It completely left. And I was like, normal. I was thinking at the time, oh my gosh, like, am I having a stroke? Am I having a heart attack? Like, what is going on? I didn't know anything about it. And then a few weeks after I was telling somebody, oh yeah, and this is weird. Or maybe they asked me, I don't even remember, and I'm like, oh no, wait, well I kind of had those symptoms. And I realized that, I guess it was infrasound. Now, the greeting that I got was not aggressive. They've never been aggressive to me. At this point, I've seen, probably 15. They are very, almost like I see them from about 60 yards away. They're sitting in this area that's very active. And, I'd say like their living room, whatever. I can look in on it from my property, and they're just sitting around chilling. Now, but that is if I don't have my phone or a camera with me, then I see them. But I've also been able to get some video and some, and some pictures of them. But it's bizarre that they're just like, and they're almost like ambivalent. Like they know that I'm watching them, but they're just like, whatever. Just like if you see, I don't know, like a deer, whatever. So let's see. What I don't know. Where do you want me to go from here?
Sorry about that. This is a new setup here at the bottom, and I accidentally pushed that. I was like, I just
no, that's okay.
I was like, what in the heck? Is it an update or something? Yeah, I'm asking Anthony.
Yeah, StreamYard changed their layout a little bit.
Okay, because I was looking at that and I pushed the thing down. I was, what is this? Yeah. Sorry about that. A lot to unpack. Now, here's the thing. I've been to Puget Sound one time. You know how when you go to Seattle?
Yeah.
And you can, I wasn't in Seattle. I was in Tacoma.
Oh, yeah. That's close to me.
And there's a little bitty spot right there, Gig Harbor. What's it called?
Gig Harbor is right. Yeah, that's
yeah. So I went through there. And
I'm across the bridge from there. Mm-hmm.
And that was, how long ago was that? I was such a bum back then. not a bum. I was never a bum. I worked, but I was
vagabond.
I was a vagabond. I was a rogue. I was wandering the earth, basically. And I was fighting around the world like Russell Crowe. I'm not even joking. Like I was getting into fights, like everywhere I went, I would fight because there were underground fights, where you could go.
Yeah.
And that's how I made money. And then I'd work some labor jobs. And I don't know what I was doing. I was just trying to find my way, and I just, didn't want to be in Texas. And so I went to Gig Harbor, and I ended up going to and so there were some people, they were like, hey, another 15 miles up, you can go, and then you can go into the forest. Uh-huh. And I was just like, it was only about 3 years removed from the Dogman experience. And I was like, I'm good. I'm not going to go into that forest. And there was a guy there that was talking about a werewolf out there. He's like, there's werewolves and Bigfoot. And I was like, what? And so there was these hippie people that I was kind of hanging out with. They were real cool. And they were from San Francisco, typical flower children. And they were just like, let's go camping into the woods. And I'm like, they were so naive about everything. And I was just like, I don't think that's a good idea, because they just seem like the kind of people that somebody's going to take advantage of them or something, and they were really nice. But that's where we kind of parted ways. They went on up to Seattle, and then I went out east, and I ended up going all the way to like Walla Walla.
Oh, yeah.
And I retraced the steps of where my dad had worked and been up there. And he had a lot of friends in Washington and Oregon, and him and my uncle just said, hey, talk to this person, call this person. And so I had like a little black notebook and backpack, basically. And I was just like, so I'd call people and be like, hey. So my dad worked at the Jolly Green Giant plant. He was a truck driver. He would pick up the cans or whatever. There was a cannery there, right? And so then I ended up working for this guy. He was cool. One of the few people, he smoked a pipe, and he was a sailor at one time. This is true. I'm going to tell you this is funny. And they canned spinach there.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not joking. And he used to go out of the harbor, right? He's like, yeah, I used to work in the harbor. And he's got like, the pea jacket and everything.
Yes.
And
you
I'm
see
looking at
them and I'm like,
yes,
whoa.
and he had a pipe.
Fisherman or whatever.
And I was like, I was like, his name was John. They called him John. And I said, John. I was like, you're a sailor.
Yeah.
You smoke a pipe. You literally wear a hat that looks, and I was like, and you run the plant and they can spinach. And he's like, I don't see what the connection is. What are you talking about, boy? And I'm like, nothing at all. He used to be a fighter too. He had a heavy bag, and him and his son would train. And so I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And so his son's like 15 years older than me. He's like 30 or something like that. And I was like, John Jr. I was like, John, did you see your dad's like, he's kind of like a cartoon, And he's like, which one? And I was like, so I never like told him anything. I just said, okay, it's just me. It's just, life imitating art here, But what's funny, Barb, is that I did some research, and Popeye was actually based on a real guy. He was like an Australian, and he would literally was a sailor, and he would go to port and he'd fight for money.
Oh,
and they called him Doc something or another. And he was the real life Popeye. And so, but this guy was like, he was a fighter. He went on the ships in the harbor and he fished. So he was a sailor, and and there was this canned spinach. And I thought this whole connection, I was like, you don't see it? I don't get what your point is. And I'm like, okay, all right. I guess nobody else sees it, but
yeah. That's
even
great.
a couple of the immigrant people that worked there, they were like, yeah, see, Papa, yeah. They were like, yeah. They could see it, but his own family, they're just like, what? I don't get it.
Was his wife's name Olive?
No, but here's the weird thing. She was very skinny, though.
My God.
She really was. She was very skinny. But she had blondish hair, though. She wasn't.
Okay.
You'd have had the dark hair with it pulled back. I'd have been like, come on.
That would have been like, come on.
I'd have been like the Truman Show. Like, are you serious now? Like, what is going on here? But yeah, it was kind of weird. I thought that was kind of odd. So I've told people that before, and there are people who have talked to me and told me that they've run into like life imitating art type stuff. Like it's weird because there's a collective consciousness, and it spits things out sometimes.
Yeah.
And people don't realize there's only 26 facial archetypes. I mean,
yes, that is so interesting. But I've lived around the country too, and I'm like, wow. You look like, all these people I know. Like, are you all related? And it's funny, isn't it? Like,
it depends on what haplogroup went where, my face is, there's people that see me and they'll be like, you look like somebody I know. Just their head's not as fat. And you're like, yes, I do have a balloon head. My friend Greg, he was a football player for years, a pro football player. We used to crack on each other so bad. And I would always tease him, right? And he'd come in the room and I'd be like, say something funny, and he'd say something funny to me. And one day we were throwing the football around, we were like teenagers, and he was pumping the football and it was messed up. It was obviously had a leak. I said, man, it's got a leak. This is what sucks. You're a teenager, you don't just have the money to go buy a new football.
Right.
Right. You're trying to pump this thing up and it's leaking or whatever. And he goes, too bad we can't just use your head. He called me a football head. So one time we were cracking on each other, and he sticks like the little needle into the, like.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
He starts pumping my head, and like he's like, yeah, see, look at this. And everybody just started laughing, and I was like, okay, dude, yeah, I got a big big shoulders though. I'm not misproportioned, I'm just a big guy.
Yeah, you're
but
big
I do
guy.
have a big old bulldog head, like the one lady.
It would be weird if you had like a little head though,
Exactly. My friend dated this girl who like had these really big, huge thighs, and she was very well built. She was very athletic, and she had this really small head.
Oh my gosh.
And then one day, my other friend, Roger, he's always messing with everybody. He's like Greg, and he told him, he's like, well, at least my wife's head is proportioned. He goes, what does that mean? And then he's like, it was like Seinfeld. He came back in. He goes, oh my gosh, I can't unsee it. Now I'm looking. Now I'm seeing it. Why did you do that? And then we're eating chicken wings later, and he's still talking about it. I'm like,
Oh,
what
no.
does it matter? He's like, every time I sit across from her, I just think how small her head is. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you put it in your mind. It is true though. She does have us, But one of my cousins is like that. She's kind of got a smaller head, and we tease her. She knows. But they call her softball head, and she gets mad. And she's just like, is it because I played softball? No, it's because you want to humiliate me. I'm like, there's nobody around. It's just us cousins. Like nobody.
Yeah, that's what
we were out
do.
at a dinner, and there was like this public function, and we were like, hear ye, hear ye.
Yeah.
She has a small head. Everybody, we call her softball head. Like then it would be insulting. It was just us cousins, and then they're talking about my other cousin. And
Yeah.
yeah,
That's just bust on each other.
yeah. So about this Bigfoot thing, what I was going to ask is, okay, so you have seen them, like you said, 15 times?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe even more. I mean, and because this has been going on for a few years, and it's like, I feel like once you see them and you are in the situation and I guess they trust me, then they just, they'll just show themselves to me. And I've been very successful in recording audio through my home security cameras. And what I do is I just basically, I stay up all night, not every night, but a couple times a week. And I go from about midnight till about 4 a.m, and I'll just keep checking all the cameras. Our camera between our house and the woods is the most active. And there's a Sasquatch that I think I was calling him what was I calling him? The alpha male. But then somebody said, that's not what they go by. He is the clan elder because they don't have an alpha male. That's not how their family is structured. I'm like, okay, that's
How
fine.
did they know this?
I guess some people, they claim that they can communicate.
Communicate?
And I kind of
you don't, right?
No, I've had, I guess what you'd say is mind speak from, I've been shown like pictures and stuff, but not, I can't say, hey, whatever, like what, I can't do that. It'd be great if I could, but I really believe, and it's kind of like with people that are psychic, they can't prove except for, if they know something about you that there's no other they could know. And that's pretty much how it is, with the situation with the Sasquatch. I was listening to a show and Robin Haynes, I don't know if you know Robin, she's a person that is very gifted and can communicate with all kinds of, things, spiritual things. And she was she was just asking or having people ask questions, calling, kind of in the chat. And I thought, what the heck? And I said, Robin, I think that I have some Sasquatch living around me. Is that correct? And she was like, yes, you do. You have two. You have two clans, and one has 17 members. The other one has 22 members. They're some of them are related. The clan that has 17 members, they are the ones that are always, they live around you. They're always coming onto your property. You've probably heard them and you've probably seen them. And I was like, whoa, because at that point it was really new. I had seen them and I had heard them, but it was so new to me that I was like, oh my gosh. But you know what? She's right. So I don't know what else to say. It's bizarre, but it's like, it's just my truth,
That whole area though, where you're at, because I know if you go to Seattle and you I guess what's across from that, Bainbridge Island?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've been there, but I hadn't gone to Seattle. I didn't go to Seattle until 2018.
Okay.
But I had it just seemed like I kept missing it. So I decided to take a trip, and we went all the way out to Southern California, visited some people that my wife knew, and then from there we drove all the way up, and then we cut back into up into Eastern Oregon to LeGrand to see some family, friends of Tony's grandmother and some family, and she's like family to us. So we stayed up there, and then we went across the Columbia River, went to Portland. Boy, that was a mistake. And then I was like, oh, okay, Portland is a lot different than when I was here. And so Yeah. So I took off, and we went. We didn't even stay the night. We just got out.
You should see it now. Oh, brother. Like,
Oh, I heard it's just a
what a shame. And even
horrible.
Seattle, like Seattle's not as bad as Portland, but it's
Seattle's
still
gotten bad. Yeah, it was already
Yeah.
getting scuzzy when I was there. So we went
Yep.
there. But I remember Bainbridge Island because I think it's they're below there to the southeast, Vashon. I think it's
Yes, Vashon.
Vashon Island. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I had bounced around in that area, and just wanting to see it,
Mhm. It
And
is
some people were
beautiful.
taking me place to place. And then when they said, "Hey, let's go into the forest, the Olympic forest," I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm just So I got in touch with those people maybe 10 years later. They came to Austin. And they
Oh,
ended up
wow.
staying here for about 2 years. There was a couple and the girl's younger brother, and they were all pretty cool. And the couple ended up coming here, not him. He was living like in Salem or something,
Mhm.
Oregon. But
Mhm.
they came to Austin. They stayed here for a couple years, and they made really good friends with. I introduced them to the guy I was talking about earlier, Roger. He
Yeah.
deceased now, but him and his wife became friends with these people, and then we would go out to dinner and eat and everything. They were friends with us, and I remember them talking about the guy was very like yo man
Yeah.
he's always wearing a bandana and he had like this huge beard and he was just like Josh, because I was people call me Wolf, but he would never call me that. He goes
Uh-huh.
Jesus gave you that name, bro. You got to honor it. He'd smoke joint, He'd be like,
It's legal.
Jesus gave you that name, bro. You
Yeah.
gotta honor it, bro. And so he was just like, Josh, man, you're not gonna believe what happened. You remember how you warned us not to go to the woods because we could be killed and eaten? And I was going like, I don't remember saying that, dude. I don't remember saying that, Kyle. I don't think I said that. I said what I said was I wasn't gonna go
Yeah.
into the woods, because the guy from the harbor was like, hey, there's there to be monsters, I'm like, I'm good. And he goes, oh, well, something like that. Somebody warned us. I thought it was you, man. In my mind, it was always you, And I'm like, okay. He goes, well, how did things go with going to pick spinach or whatever? And I'm like, that's not what I did. I was like, no, I went to a place where they shipped it, whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it's cool. He goes, yeah, well, we almost died. And he started telling me this crazy story. His wife was like, that's not true. We heard some shrieking noise all night. And he goes, yeah, it was dreadful. He would use these really funny words. And my friends were there and they're laughing, they're from Buffalo, but they were kind of digging the vibe. They were like, oh, these flower children, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And their parents were total hippies. Total hippies, man. Her name was Neo.
Wow.
Sorry, Nia.
Yeah.
And she would always say Nia, like it was native. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's native. I think that's just your mom's interpretation of it. But they were really cool.
Wow.
But they were just like, and he was like, yeah, man, there was like a shrieking noise going on all night, man. He's like, and then when we were in Puget, we were at the Puget Sound area, and he goes, there were like Bigfoot everywhere. And he was telling me this. And I was like, did you see him? And she goes, no. And he goes, yes. At this, and I was like, how did you see him and you not?
Yeah.
So I asked, and he goes, I saw them because I got up to take a leak. And I think it's because I sleep naked. And so they might have been like, I don't know, like attracted to me. And she was just looking at him. She has like these horn rimmed glasses, and she's just like looking at him, and she's like, I don't think that's what happened. I don't think that. And I was like, when he would use the restroom, and I told Nia, I said, did he actually see that? And she goes, I don't know. So I kind of just took it at like, that didn't really happen, 500 for things that didn't happen,
Yeah.
And so, but he would talk about that. And we actually played softball together on a team because him and a couple of my friends got me to go, they're like, come on, let's play softball. And so I did on a co-ed team for like a season. And he would constantly tell everybody that Bigfoot came out after him, and that it was a female. That's what he claimed. And he would talk about, So I remember this, and I will say this because when you were talking about the habitation, and I was like, I'm going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
The Bigfoot that he claims he saw, he said it was female. He said it was grayish, like splotchy gray and brown.
Okay.
The face looked very not ape-like. He said it was more like a Neanderthal, like how you would. That's what he claimed with a protruding brow ridge and a flat nose. Is that what you would describe as?
Yes, but they have very different features. What I've seen, and this is all. So this is, what I see is mostly the same. This is the same clan. So they don't like intermarry. They go outside of their clan. So I think that's why. So you basically have all these human hybrids. That's what I believe that they are, that look so vastly different. There's some of them that are solid black, but they have a little bit of that like tufts of like gray in their hair. And their skin is like pitch black skin.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that I can see them really easy. And that's usually the ones that are literally just sitting like chilling, like, what are you going to do, lady? Come on out. And not saying that, but
No, okay. Yeah. I was going to say,
no. But like, I'm not going to, and I would never, ever. And this might be why, people are like, why didn't you run in at them? Or like run in and get your camera. It's like, well, first of all, no, I'm never going to run in at them. But because this is honestly how I feel like I've been successful by maintaining like this mutual respect, but okay. So back to that. So those solid black. Then there are some that have almost like there's some very Native American features. Very, very Native
high cheekbones and everything.
Yep. Like handsome kind of, they're usually like, and then they don't have hair on their, like the hair's like, it's kind of just like here is the only thing that's like this is the only where you can see their skin. And they typically have like tan, like more pale skin. They will have brown, red. There's a bright red one with bright blue eyes that I saw. He was big. And then there's other ones that they're just brown. And then they have like all the colors mixed in, I saw the first one that I ever saw. He had slick, like beautiful black hair. And it was kind of like, it looked like almost like it was groomed. It was like parted in the middle down and it like went down over his shoulders. But his face, his face was very Native American looking, but his skin was like tree bark. I mean, it was, I don't know. I could only see him like maybe from here up. So I don't know anything else about his, and he was crouching next to a tree when I saw him, the couple times that I saw him. And the only reason I knew, I was like, oh, I think that's part of the tree. But then I'm looking at I'd taken a video and some photos. And I'm like, no, that looks like I can see him moving. Then I went back a few days later and there was, there's like a crook in the tree that he would have fit perfectly in. And so he was the first one I saw. I think if his skin wasn't like, like the tree, he would have been probably a handsome, I don't know. This sounds weird. I know I'm like, so handsome, but that's just like,
yeah. I mean, well, that's not the first time I've heard that before.
Yeah. Now one that I saw the closest, and I believe that this was a female. And I think that she was, maybe like an older adolescent. She was, I'd say about 7 feet tall. She was hiding in a bush right alongside our house. There's a wood line and then there's these big bushes that kind of hang over. And one night I was trying to get pictures of the ones that they would kind of like come into the tree line and stand around and watch. And they were starting to come out into the clearing. So I could see them, like if I'm out, let's say if I'm in our front yard, I could see them perfectly. And I got pictures perfectly. But when you go into the back, of course, they're going to back off. They're not going to just stand out there and allow me to take pictures. But I thought if I'm going through and I'm talking to them, because I talk to them like I would a neighbor, maybe they'll come out. So, they didn't. And it was about 8:00 and it was August 1st. So it's getting dark, but it was still kind of light, but getting dark. But when I stuck my phone, which was on like an automatic setting, so it would adjust, to the light or the dark, for some reason, I just stick my phone in this bush and the light on the phone goes on, like the like your flash, when you're, you know what I mean? Like the flashlight goes on because that's the setting. And there sits a Bigfoot. And the first thing that I thought was like, oh my gosh, this looks like Chewbacca. Like, holy shit, this looks like Chewbacca. It was exactly like, now the thing is I could only see from here up because she had, and I keep, referring to her as a she, right? So I can't even do it, but she had her, like, she was like squished up like this and like this when I saw her, but her legs were, and she had long hair hanging down from both arms. Now it was very brief, that we saw, because when I saw her, I think I went and she immediately put her head down, which was kind of cute now in hindsight, because it was just like a little kid would do, or like a little baby raccoon or something, that would hide, thinking like, oh, if this woman, she can't see me if I go down like that, but I ended up I screamed and ran in my house, and then I felt,
that's kind of what would be the appropriate response for most people. I mean,
yeah, but I felt bad about it. I felt really, really bad about it. I did.
I'd just be like, yeah, well, you look hideous, so sorry.
But it's like she was, but I didn't see. I wish now here's the thing about her. Okay, so she was, like I said, imagine Chewbacca, like a cinnamon color, maybe like auburn. But
very
there
common
was
color,
like very brown, but had some brown. And again, this is just, but around her eyes, there were like white circles. Now, I don't know if that was hair or if that was her skin, they were complete. It looked like she had like white goggles on, but I could see her eyes, and her eyes looked like how golden doodles, they have like if you look at their eyes, it's like a very human looking eye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that until a couple months later. We were visiting our oldest daughter, and she's a golden doodle. And I was like, oh my gosh, Gracie. That's the dog's name. And I said, oh my gosh, Gracie. And then I told my daughter, I was like, that looks like the Sasquatch. I saw like the eyes. The eyes were similar, but
I'm gonna go look at Beans' eyes now and say,
yeah,
Beans, come here and look. I have a golden doodle. Let me see your eyes. Beans has that look. Her eyes. She's always kind of like,
yes,
she's
that's
kind of like, I'm confused. She's so playful all the time.
Oh, I love them though.
Yeah, she's an awesome dog. So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done some research here in Texas, and Anthony, you and I were talking. The rancher from Giddings. We had his nephew posed a question. He was like, we've seen 2 or 3 different kinds of creatures out here. I think one is a gugway, because I don't think that. I think it's a very vicious crossbreeding. Mm-hmm. That's something that happens. There's a lot to say about the Bigfoot. Yeah. I'm not going to get into everything because you're the guest, but let me say this. There are Bigfoot down here that are extremely, I can't even express it enough. They're extremely hostile. They're aggressive. There is no,
I've heard
I saw them and they were being, kind of shy and elusive. Yeah. I have heard what you're talking about, and I've said this on the show before. In the Pacific Northwest, there are some Sasquatch up there that tend to be a little more, not timid isn't the word, but a little more aloof. Mm-hmm. And they're not trying to run out and just crack your head open with a rock. Now, we have this. They're definitely a smaller species down here, but they're not tiny though. They're about the size of a Dogman. They're about 7 to 8 feet tall, which is not as big as they can get up in the Pacific Northwest. I've heard of 10, 12 feet, especially in Puget Sound area. But down here, there is this one in particular, and this isn't the one that those guys from Giddings were seeing. They did. It wasn't not the gray faced ones, Anthony. That's not the rancher from Giddings. He didn't see that, did he?
No.
But they saw some pretty violent ones. There was a couple of them and different kinds. And now he asked me if that was a thing, and I said yes, it is. And now I have some encounters that I'm working on with some people that had contacted me. They had what you have, similar, not exactly, but where there was like this habitation from these larger, more, I guess you could say peaceful. I mean, they have, let's put it this way, not peaceful is not the word. I don't believe that, but they're not messing with them.
Yeah.
But the younger girl, she's not little, she's a teenager now, but she was, and at first they thought it was like her imagination, because she was a very imaginative child. But I think those people tend to draw these things to them because their open-mindedness. I think that's what it is. So she was communicating with one of these creatures, and it warned her not to be too friendly with the others in the woods.
Oh,
So whenever she saw some of the ones that looked like him, she would run away. And then he came back and told her, no, not us. But there was another,
Uh-huh.
I guess, clan, you would call it, out there. And they were not like them at all. And the way that these people describe these creatures to us, absolutely terrifying. I know what those are because Apache Pass is where the people have spotted these things along with Dogman and other things. But I don't know that these things they may come out of portals or whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they have the ability to rub ash on their face. I used to think that was their skin, that it was gray. But I think their skin is black, and I think but they rub ash on their face. And Anthony, we've talked about this. It's a puzzle because nobody has said, hey, they make fire.
Mm.
So where are they getting this gray ash to rub on their faces? Now, I don't think they rub it on their faces for anything other than to keep the mosquitoes away. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's what I think. And they have it on their hands and their skin,
Yep.
And but they're getting it from somewhere. It's a gray ash. Now, other people have said that it could be a type of fungus or something, and then maybe that's what makes them so damn mean and violent. I've had different theories go across my desk.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but these people had hell with those things, and they drove off the other population that seemed to be a little more peaceful. And there was a fight that took place between these two groups, and I guess the more peaceful ones, as tends to happen, they just kind of packed up and said, "To hell with this," and they left.
Yeah.
But then this other creature appeared, and it was a Dogman type creature. Well, they didn't know what to call it. They just said it was like a wolf on two legs, and it was terrorizing everything and everybody. And then those ashen-faced creatures sort of disappeared too.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I don't know. And so to me, I told them what I thought, and I'm going to tell the whole thing, at some point. And it started out because somebody had seen a Thunderbird in that area, and when I asked them about it, they said, "Well, you need to talk to my cousin's neighbors. They're across the river. They're having a bunch of weird stuff happen, East Texas, And they started talking to me, and when they started talking about the ashen-faced creatures, I said, "Oh my gosh, I know exactly what those are." And I really think they're native to here in Texas. I think they run east central Texas into the thicket and then up. I think that's where they're at. I really do, because I don't think we've ever gotten a story of them in West Texas, have we? Of the ashen face?
No, never.
Yeah, so it's all in the east. It starts in central Texas and goes east.
Do you think it's maybe some kind of dirt that they're mixing, like with water and putting on?
I don't know. It looks like ash because it's.
Yeah, but I'm thinking
says it's ash. I don't know.
Yeah, if they have like a black skin and then they're putting this, I'm wondering, if it's some kind of dirt that they're mixing and then kind of just putting it on or splashing it on to keep I don't know.
What kind of dirt? I don't, in the area where they're being seen out there near Thorndale, and unfortunately, maybe 10 miles east of my ranch. I don't want them coming around me. I did see something one night, Barb. I did. I think I've talked about it on the show. I don't know. I don't really claim an encounter unless I can, whatever. Yeah. But we were coming home from Austin, and we had done our patrols, me and Nellie, and I saw something, and she was looking down at her phone, and I said, "What the hell is that?" And it looked like a man. And here's the thing: it was gray. It was gray, and it looked like a man standing there with his arms out like this, like he was stretching, and his arms came down, and I saw him move. And in the face, I told Nellie, I said, it was real quick. I just drove right by it, and it was near this hall out there on the edge of town. But we don't live by the hall. We live like way past that. We're out in the middle of whatever. And so I saw this thing, and I was like, "What is that?" And it looked like. I guess it looked like a Bigfoot. I mean, it was probably 7-8 foot tall. It was a big, tall, but it was thin. It wasn't real big and bulky. And I told Nellie, I said, "I think I just saw something." So I don't really claim that because it was so quick that maybe it could have been a guy. But like I told Nellie, I didn't see the feet because it was so quick. We drove by it, and it was pitch dark. And why would he be standing there in the pitch dark?
Yeah, and kind of just stretching out, like you said.
Yeah, and there wasn't.
Sounds like a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a house there with a driveway, but that wasn't. It was further, like
Okay.
maybe like not even probably an eighth of a mile from there, but it was like it wasn't there in by the house, you know, but
Yeah.
it was close enough to where I guess you could say it was a person, and it was standing on like a box or something. So I
Uh-huh.
told Nellie maybe it was standing on a box. I don't know, but I thought, "Ah, dang, dude, I hope it's not one of these things, because there
Yeah.
has been no report that we have gotten, or anybody I know that researches it,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
when it comes to those creatures,
Uh-huh.
there is no, and the locals, they know about them, you know, and
Oh,
the old timers knew about them real well, and they would talk about them, and they are like, they're aggressive, they're
yeah.
mean, and the old timers would shoot on sight, absolutely
Mm,
shoot on sight, and they were
yeah.
a physical thing, because
Wow. Yeah.
my family, there was a family, people, I did a story on them, the McCulloughs. They're not even around anymore. And they were like third generation Irish people, and they settled in that region, and they got driven off of their property by
Oh,
them. And at the turn of the century, the 1900s, my
Jesus.
family helped them like get out
Oh,
of there.
wow.
And they
Yeah.
moved further
Yeah.
north. But these creatures, they're around this area called Apache Pass. Now, I don't have any reports of them in the last like 10 years, but they were
They
there
were
for
moving out.
sure. And we
Yeah.
have gone out there and seen evidence of habitation, and I would think it's probably them.
Mhm.
So I would not want to be out there at night.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
right
I
there
wouldn't
north
want
of
to be out
Apache
there
Pass.
at all. Like, ew. You know, if it sounds like
Exactly.
what they sound so
Yeah,
vicious.
they're ugly. They're ugly as hell. And here's another thing I'm going to say, and I don't know if you agree with this, Barb, but I've said this before, and people kind of get upset. I'm like, look, man, people are ugly for a reason. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I think that the demonic possession can make you look physically ugly,
Yeah.
and it does this.
Yep.
It's a repelling thing to keeps you safe.
Yes.
When kids look at somebody that's repulsive, they're like, ugh.
I know
There's
I get
something
that.
yeah.
Yep.
When
Yep.
people are ugly, I mean, you know, or beings, they're
And
ugly beings. They repulse you.
yeah, yeah, and it may not be you know, like somebody that's actually someone else would think is ugly, but you can tell that that like evil like just emanates from them, and it does. It seems to like distort their faces. But it sounds like you saw a Sasquatch. I'll tell you, they are much thinner than the ones that I see, but I'm probably seeing the younger ones. I've only ever seen, well, let's see, two, I'd say bigger ones. One was one of the solid black ones, and he was just sitting there, like, and it was like a side profile, and he looked very much like a silverback gorilla, kind of. If you know, imagine you're at a zoo, and there's silverback gorilla exhibit. That's what he looked like, and he was just sitting there chilling, like whatever. And then back behind him, there was a big one, but I could only see the silhouette of that. But they're really a lot, even for the Pacific Northwest, they're a lot thinner, lean, I guess, not too skinny, but you know, lean than people. We bought a place speaking of the Olympic Peninsula, that's where I'm at right now. We bought a place up here. It's about 70 miles as the crow flies from our house on the Puget Sound. It's in this cute, like, little beach community. And we're going to use the house that we're in. We're going to use it as a short term, like, you know, vacation rental. And one of the reasons why, well, I was like, well, let's buy that house, is because we border DNR land, Department of Natural Resources land. There's like 400, 500 acres of it. And that's kind of right alongside, not our house, but like it's just across the street. And there's trails and stuff all through. But I've had some really weird like vibes and experiences, you know, over there. So I won't even go over there anymore. Look, back at home, I'm not afraid at all to go out in the woods, whatever, you know. But here, I'm not going to go. I have to have my husband with me, because it's weird vibes. And I feel like I've been hit with, I don't know if it's infrasound. I don't know what it is, but it's like this attack that day.
That exists, Barb. I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's bad, you know. So yeah.
So, and I want to address this. Okay, Richard. I know Richard's over here. Everyone has the face of God. Call no man or woman ugly. I agree with that. He says demons will
Okay.
manifest in
Well,
people. Yes, they're
that's
hideous.
what I
But-
said. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's why. Let's be honest, folks. You know why Dick is saying this,
Oh. Yeah.
okay? Because his face.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because he looks like an angry Tony Romo.
He sits there like this when he's co-hosting with me. He's like, "We're not going to mock you, all right, Richard? We're not. We're not going to.
Calm
We will
down.
not make fun of you, okay?"
And I literally said it might not be something that, because what do they say? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And man, and I'm here calling Sasquatch handsome. So shut up.
Yeah, exactly, Richard. Richard got that mean, confused look all the time.
Yeah.
Like he's so smart. You know who he reminds me of? Jack, Big Jack.
Yeah.
He looks like a Sasquatch. I tell Jack all the time, especially since his beard is grayed. I said, "You look very, primate-like," and he's like, "What do you mean?" He's a big Italian dude. I always tease him. He gets mad when I said, "You look like a mook." We don't know what that word is or whatever, but it's just they call each other mook all the time. I'm like, you look because it's that kind of like dumb.
Yeah.
5 o'clock shadow. It looks like a permanent bad guy. Like he's
Like a goon.
just got that big jaw. Big Jack. He looks like one of the
A
Nephilim,
1920s henchman.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. When he used to roll with me back
Get
in the
him,
day,
boy.
people
Get
would be like,
He's a
I can see you have the, and I remember Shakespeare, because he was always very, real polite and up, he's like, you have this quintessential Bowery boys with you all the time. I see. And and Jack was like, "Are you talking about me?" And he's like, yes, I am. I am referring to you. You and your minions. Yes. But Jack has that look. He's kind of like, that's how Dick Richards look. He just kind of has that permanent bad guy look on his face. But they're smart people. They just don't, but that's what people say. They say Bigfoot looks like this big dumb animal. It's not. Believe me, it's not.
No.
It's kind of like homeless people. They just choose to live out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know they're ugly, and we're probably not going to accept 9-foot tall monsters in the yard. So they're just kind of like, we're just going to hang out here.
Yeah, they can do all the weirdest stuff.
They'll
has
eat your
been,
pets.
mess with electronics, mess with your phone, put things on.
Why do you think that is, Barb? I mean,
I think it's because they can, and there's certain things they don't want. Like, okay, because people will say, how do you know that you're not going to get mad? Like if you release something, because I just had this woman, like the trolls, on my YouTube channel. She's like, I think it's very rude that you're like getting again all this money from
Wow.
like no.
Yeah, well, let's see here.
You need to give us a loan, Barb. Can we
I
get
have had,
Yeah, I just
I've
have to
had
wait
4
for it all to
donations.
come flowing in. But she said, have some respect for them. You're whatever. And then but it's basically like, because she's like, what if they hate it? Like, what if somebody came into your living room and took pictures of you and then plastered them all over YouTube? Well, nobody would want to do that, but if you want to, okay. But
I'm like, are they sexy photos of me? Because if they are, then it's Instagram, baby. If not, then I'm mad.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Then it's an invasion of privacy, and I will
Bigfoot
not stand for it.
OnlyFans.
Well, I'd
But-
be getting paid royalties for this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. What's in it for me? That's the first question
But-
anybody asks me.
I'll tell you what, if they don't want me to release a picture or they don't want it, no.
I believe that because they
My
can
camera
control a
doesn't
lot of
work.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
So these people, they get offended by everything, but this is a culture we live in where people are offended by your decisions that don't affect them at all.
yeah.
They don't affect them at all, and they get all mad. They're like, I can't believe that you believe like that. And I'm like, and so I've had some people just really concerned about the way I believe, and they'll just try so hard to tell me otherwise. Now I understand what their purpose is because I'm an influencer or considered an influencer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why struggle so hard against sanity? It's like you call me and tell me, hey,
Yeah.
if you take this number and you change it to this number and then you do the math, now I'm right. And you're like, no, you just changed the number. 4 plus 4 is still 8. Just because you made it 6 doesn't make it 10.
Right.
You know what I mean? The math ain't
Yeah.
mathing, and they just keep on doing this mental gymnastics. What if?
Yeah.
What if I was a disabled Hispanic lesbian? Then what would you say? And I'm like, but you're not. So why are
Yeah,
you doing
right.
this? And they just keep on going down the rabbit hole until they're like, what if we were living on Mars? Now what do you have? We are not. That is the point. And then they just keep on going down the rabbit hole until it's a badger hole. And
Right.
and it gets frustrating. And I have these researchers that will. I just had somebody recently trying to convince me that I saw a Bigfoot. I didn't see a Dogman, that they don't exist. And I said, this again?
Oh yeah.
That guy is retarded.
Yeah, that you saw a Bigfoot with a snout or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, like everything's a Bigfoot.
He keeps coming back to it every few
Uh-huh.
months. Like I'm going to go, well, now that I've had another 4 months to think about it and you keep on pissing me off, now I believe it was a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Now let's put it in your database here. And monkeys might just fly right out of my butt. That's not going to happen. And so I just sit there. Hi, Maddie. You want to say hi?
Maddie.
You don't want to say hi.
Hi, Maddie.
At least say hello in the microphone. That's very rude to just walk into our studio and not speak.
Especially since you didn't do what I told you.
So
You just came in
awesome.
here. Say hi.
What? Oh,
Now you're obligated to say hi.
hello.
You have to.
Hi, Maddie.
She's embarrassed. She doesn't want to be seen in her uniform.
Why?
It looks fine. You look like a meter maid.
Oh, that's so
And now you're going to go, folks at home, would he say that if that was a man standing
Yeah.
there? In fact, most of the meter maids downtown are men.
Yeah.
I will say that. There's one big fat guy. He's tried to nail me every time he runs over there like Bubble Bass from SpongeBob. I see you touch a vehicle. Oh, it's legal. And I'm like, dude, how are you out here and not deceased? Because
Yeah.
he is humongous. Like he's a ball.
Oh gosh.
And his uniform has got to be a 7X. If somebody's really not nice, and this goes back to what we were saying, where we were really talking about, not even being funny, but
Yeah.
if somebody's really not nice, you'll look at them and you'll find things to hate about them.
Oh yeah.
You will look at their face
That's
and
just
be
human
like,
nature.
it is.
Yes.
Look at this guy inhaling and exhaling. Like what?
He's breathing up his air. What is he doing?
Just takes all the oxygen. He's like entitled to the oxygen around him.
Look at those 2 eyes just looking at stuff.
Look at how they blink. That's
Look at
he blinks his eyes.
Blink 182.
Oh, now you're gonna drink water.
Or if they have a zit or a blemish, you're like, look at that.
Oh, forget
Look at
about
that. Third eye blind over there.
You know who else?
Blind melon head on all kinds of other bands.
You know who else drank water out of a glass like that? Stalin.
it.
Hitler and Stalin drink tea. Look at you drinking it. Because it's that nature. So I've had somebody tell me, they were like, the reason that Bigfoot is not appealing to us is because we don't like them because we see them as competition. So we have evolved. This is what this person said, right?
Oh,
I'm not even going to
boy.
say their name because everybody's going to make fun of them.
Okay. Yeah, that's why.
I think
That's
you know
why.
them too, Barb. I'm going to say, but they said that they evolved so we don't like them. So we look at them as ugly. And he goes, what do you think? And I'm sitting across the table from him. This is at the conference, right? And I'm like, I said, I think they're ugly.
Mhm.
I think they're just, he goes, it's as simple as that. I said, yes, it is as simple as that. I think they're ugly. And this guy just sits there like, okay. And I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, he's so dumb. That person. But I was just like, I said, okay, I don't think I think they're just ugly. I don't think they evolved that way. I think they're not good. I mean, I don't think they're all evil, but there are varying levels of evil and good. The only thing that is absolutely evil is evil itself. All the beings that accept it, they have been eat up with it.
Mhm.
Here's another thing, folks. I got to say this. The evil that infects even the demons. Some people think that demons are pure evil, but they are not beings that are spun off from the darkness itself. That's not the case. They have been parasitized by evil. Their lineage has become tainted black and evil, dark. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so they come out being indoctrinated into evil. in particular when they come from the abyss. And I'm not going to try to get all philosophical here, but the only absolute in this universe is that God is the pure form of goodness. Everything else has been tainted by a darkness, and that darkness itself has a conscience. It does.
Yeah, I believe that.
And it is a joint. It is a not a joint. What do you call it? A collective consciousness of evil, and it devours things. There used to be a passage. I know this is going to sound crazy that it says used to be, but I remember in the book of Isaiah. I remember this. It was one of my favorite books, and it says iniquity is a mystery, for we know not from which it comes. And they have changed that
Oh, yeah.
right around the same time that the wolf became the lion, became the wolf, and I was like, what?
Mhm.
And so I used to quote that, and I was like, and now it's not there. It's not. It's something different. It's like it talks about lawlessness or something, and I was like,
Oh,
that
wow.
has changed. They have literally tampered with things.
Yeah. Yep.
I've even had Muslims who are just diehard, like, no, the book has never changed, and they're just like they can't find certain passages, and I'm going, you remember it, but it's not there now because.
Yep.
Well, the book has never changed. And then they're so brainwashed. They're like, no, the book has never changed. And I'm like, yeah, it did. They've all changed.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Same thing with the Vedas. I've gone back. I read those all when I was in my late teens. I went back and reread them when I was like 35, 40. Yeah, they were different. I was like, whoa, dude. And when you go, even like with a movie, you'll go back and watch a movie or a TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a trip, dude. You'll be watching like, I had a friend who's really big into Star Trek, him and his wife, and they were like telling me, look, right here. This is a Mandela effect. And I'm going to be honest, I hate Star Trek. And I was like, oh, yeah. I have no idea if that happened or not. I've never watched it.
Yeah.
You've never watched Star Trek? I was like, while eating a Hot Pocket just in your socks? No, I haven't.
It's
Never
getting
crossed
worse.
that off my bucket list yet.
I was like, this is getting worse. No, I mean, seriously, though. I mean, how could it get much worse if you're watching Star Trek already?
Yeah.
Boring.
All the Trekkies are like, what?
I tried, man. I just can't get
yeah,
into
me
it.
Get into
too. Yeah.
Me and my dad went to see a Star Trek movie when I was little, and it was for my birthday, and there was no Star Wars movie out at that time because they only made 3 of them because they were that good, and then they started making more. But
yeah.
so we went to a Star Trek movie, and my mom was like, well, never again. We just both fell asleep. And my dad was like, well, he wants to sleep first. My mom's like, he's 7. He's 7, Owen. That's why he's little. He was running around eating pizza all day. What do you think he's going to do?
I remember thinking that the name of that Star Trek movie, Wrath of Khan, I thought it was a cool
epic.
Yeah, just because of the name, and I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna check this out. It's gonna be really cool. I checked it out. I was like,
the wrath
this
is
is so boring. This is so
just
boring.
as terrible as the other ones.
Yeah.
Sorry, people. But yeah. Oh, snooze. I don't know what is it about it. That's very, very boring. I think it's also like I grew up not watching. I grew up seeing all the, like Captain Kirk and like the very cheesy, like
Oh yeah,
the old
that's
school,
the 60s.
like,
I mean the 70s one.
Yeah.
So Barb, question for you. Do you ever feel like sick after having these encounters with some of these Bigfoots? You feel like physically ill?
No, but yes. Recently, okay, because at my house, on the Puget Sound, I believe I've been hit with infrasound maybe, like I said, twice, but it was mild. Out here on the Olympic Peninsula, I've had about 4 or 5. Like it's like it's a bad attack. I mean, and it just hits me, and it's kind of scary. It really is, and it's it's kind of like making me rethink. I mean, I just have to be super, super careful out here because I don't know what's out here and I don't have a relationship with them, but yeah. And as a matter of fact, like, I mean, every time my husband's like, I feel like I should be calling an ambulance. Oh my God, Barb. And the one time he said I was like unresponsive. Not that I didn't have a pulse or wasn't breathing. He said my eyes were like rolled back and I wasn't even like, I don't remember that. I mean, I was just about fainted. But I'm like, please don't, because I know what this is. It's not like a physical. It is, but it's, and I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Is it some kind of a spiritual attack? Is it I mean, I pray every day. I try to protect myself, but yeah. So I don't know. Because I had a really weird, and I just put this on my YouTube channel last night, I think, or I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, probably about 2 weeks ago, because I didn't even really want to talk about it. It was really kind of like disturbed me. Because I had these other ones, like I said, but this one was, all right, I know that this is definitely some kind of an attack from whether it's something in the woods or spiritual or whatever. My husband and I were just walking along, taking a hike. There's plenty of hiking around here. And we both noticed, oh, look, that looks like a footprint. That's pretty cool. And he said, well, I think it's about maybe like a week old though. And so he said, it's probably, it's definitely degraded. And that was it. We went home, and then I was like, because I'd taken some pictures, but I didn't have, and a video, but I didn't have the ability. We didn't have anything to measure. We weren't even planning on, take it home or come home. It's right across the street. And I had sent it to a couple of friends of mine. They're like, oh, wow, you have to go get some like measurements. And I'm like, oh, all right. And they were like, wow, that's really cool. You can see the toes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice all this. Then I'm looking at the photos like, yeah. So I'm so excited. I grabbed the measuring tape and I said to my husband, hey, babe, I'll be back. I'm just running across the street to measure this print and get a little bit more information. So I go, bouncing out of the house, and I got to the road, and all of a sudden it was like this wave of, I don't know, like I was walking into this energy, and I thought I was going to faint right there. And I'm like, shoot. Turned around. And I don't even really remember. Like, I mean, I'm so glad that I was not at all far away, because I was able to get into the house, and I kind of like threw myself on it sounds so dramatic, but it was throw myself on the couch, and I'm like, baby, help, I need help. And he's like, oh my God, not again. And I'm like, no, just, and so he's bringing me like honey and sugar. Like he's thinking, here, you need some sugar. It's blood sugar.
Sugar's low. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and, but this was, I feel like if you have that, it kind of comes on, whereas this was like, boom. And I was out of it, and it was bad. And I'm telling him, look, babe, would you just pray with me? Because this is so, I didn't vomit that. I have vomited in the past. I didn't vomit this time. It was just, I felt so bad for about 3 hours. And then I finally just got tired, and, and we went to bed. But, so, and he's like, you need to talk to your doctor about it, because I do have insulin resistance, and I take metformin for blood sugar issues. And my doctor was like, well, it sounds like maybe, your blood sugar is going too low, but I don't have diabetes. So just watch it, make sure you're eating blah, blah, blah consistently. But honestly, like this feels different. And in the fact that I went from like, yay, I can't wait to see this and take pictures, more pictures. And then I was even thinking like, maybe I'll even like cast this, because I've never really had a track that I wanted to cast. I was thinking about that, but no, it was like, boom, no, you're not. Now, I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think?
Well, the reason I'm asking is because Joe and Jesse Doyle have a pretty interesting theory about infrasound. Well, like what people perceive as being hit with infrasound and feeling sick afterwards is actually a form of radiation sickness.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure like what all the symptoms of radiation sickness are, but I would imagine nausea is nausea, and probably lightheadedness is one of them. Yeah. Have you ever thought about that?
It could be. I know when I was on the show, with Nellie and all those ladies, Jesse was talking about that, and I'll have to either talk to Joe, or I want to hear his theories on it, because it could be. It very well could be. Somebody else had said to me recently that I was talking about, and they said they felt that possibly Sasquatch has the ability to use magnetic field, the magnetic field that is in the earth, and it could be. And then we have, our bodies are magnetized, and they could be drawing energy out that way. And maybe they were like, okay, we don't want her to go near that, obviously. So no, we have to stop her in whatever way, possible. And maybe it was too much. So I don't know. Was it something, again, like I said, was it evil, or was it were they just being like, no, we don't want you to go there. Stay away from that area. You have to stay away from that. By myself. And it was getting dark. So I don't know, but I'd like to hear, because it could be, very well could be. I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of theories about it.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Josh? What's your, have you ever been hit? Have you guys, either of you been ever like?
Thank you, Abe, for that donation. We appreciate that. Abe, Spiritual Encrypted Encounters. Thank you for the donation. It did hit with infrasound, not that I'm aware of.
Like, I don't want to say, you know what I mean? Because I can't say, oh, I got hit by infrasound. I have no idea. I'm just saying, that kind of, it just comes over you so quick, and it's like debilitating for a couple hours.
I know many accounts that people have given us where they have been hit with something that feels like infrasound, and it seems like a defense mechanism from these creatures, but it could be used offensively too. What I mean is, like, it's not necessarily that people are doing anything. They're just hitting people with it. I think everything is vibration.
Yeah.
And I think these beings know how to, they dwell in that fourth density anyway. And I think that they know how to do it because they come from a different place. If you were to go, they seem like they're pretty intelligent, but they have no interest in our, what we do as far as like the way we live and everything, because they're to me, they're pure predator.
Yeah.
Purely predatory. And I believe they eat energy in any form. So imagine an omnivore, right? Like imagine a bear. It can eat berries. It can eat salmon. It can eat you. I mean, it can process, but an herbivore really can only just process, plants and whatever. And a carnivore just really has to eat meat. But an omnivore would be the next step where it can eat anything. And they're more successful that way. And I think these things take it a step further. Now, the guy that I was talking about, I was kind of arguing with him about how they were ugly, whatever. We talked about multiple things and we didn't agree on all of it. And I said, look, I think Josh Anoka and Christopher Gartana were both there. And this person that I'm not going to mention, they were rude and they interrupted our conversation. And I kind of clapped back and was like, dude, you're not even involved in this conversation. Why are you, I was kind of rude about it. I was like, we're all having a conversation here. You're just like, and kind of argumentative about what we're coming up with as theories. And I'm like, no, dude, no, because he just kept throwing evolution and that they're physical. And I can't remember if it was Josh or Chris. They were just like, how do you know that, dude? Like, so this person wants to argue. So when you move away from that person and then they continue.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going like, and I just remember we were standing there at one point and I was talking to Jesus Payan. He was at the conference too. We were all talking.
Oh, he's great.
And the guy comes up and starts doing it again. And I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he just didn't want to, and he's going to let it go. Oh, and another thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, and Jesus was like, I remember he said something, the guy kind of like, well, what if an alien is there too? Because what looked like an alien was like, he's like, well, that would never happen. And then he's like,
yeah, like, yeah.
Jesus is like signing. He's like, whatever, man. He's a real nice guy.
Yeah.
He's not gonna argue with this bozo.
Right, right.
My table, and Auntie, you were standing there with your brother and Tony. And Tony finally said something to the guy. He was like, why do you come over here to argue?
Yeah.
So, and Monica knows the guy, and she was just like, he's just that way. He's just, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm another way, and I'm not gonna just let this person. So I finally went over to this person in private and I said, look, you have your beliefs. Chasing me around, trying to make me, and argue with me in front of multiple people is not good. This is not the way to do things. I said, you're here with somebody else that I'm friends with. Okay. I didn't invite you. And I was very, you have to sometimes put your foot down with these people. And he wanted to try to push this no God evolution. They are a physical creature thing, whatever. And I told him what you're talking about is very interesting because I told this guy, I said, how do you explain the electronics, the infrasound? He goes, those things don't exist. Like it was very not. None of that exists. There's never been any proof. I said, "There's no proof of what you're talking about. None. There's not a skeleton. There's some tracks. You have a few. You have what's his name, Meldrum, with the what is that one track he's always pushing? He's pedaling it all the time with the Michigan or whatever. I don't know what it is, cold water or whatever.
Yeah.
I know him and Jody had gotten into it or something about the track. I don't know the whole story. I don't care, but it was just Yeah. And so somebody had told me, they're like, well, I'm going to go tell Jeff what you said. I was like, I don't give a crap what you say. Jeff doesn't care about me no more than I care about him.
I'm telling on you.
Like, go.
And Jeff's going to go, now, Josh.
Yeah, he's going to come out and jump me at the next conference. Hey, man, what's up, big guy? You want to wrestle? Nobody cares.
How dare you say
this dude was just like totally, and so this guy, he ended up like jumping from booth to booth, like everybody had their own book, their own table, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was Lyle or David or somebody. He went over to him and he was just like, this guy, and like he's trying to stir up something, like let's get an APR coalition going here at the conference, And I just was like, I went to Ryan Edwards. I think he had said something to him, and I was like, Ryan, what did he tell you? And Redfern was just point blank, oh, he's talking shit, Like, I was like, because this guy needs to shut up, And I was like, I'm a very nice person. People don't. These people, this little handful of crappy people.
Yeah.
They try to make this narrative that I'm this evil, like this villain, this cartoon villain that's going to put you on the railroad tracks, and, and the damsel's like, help me, like
no nonsense, and we all listen. Josh, how are we supposed to believe about this? Tell us what.
Yeah, let me tell you what you would believe. I have ways of waking you walk, Bigfoot. I'm not even doing all that, and so this guy was like. Then after that, amazingly, a couple people showed up they're confirmed Josh Turner haters, and I'm like, okay, what a shock. And I told Abe, I was like, yeah, okay, here we go. And me and Bettina was like, she does that eye roll, like,
yeah.
I knew these people were going to show up. Like, here we go, and they're over there like judgingly, and I'm like, who cares? I was very gracious. I went over to these people and I said, even though you're very unlikable people and nobody here really likes you and you're not likable, I made sure to say that again. I said, I'm allowing you to stay here, but you need to shut up and not talk, because they're over there talking while people were on stage. And I said, I know what you're doing and I'm going to let you stay because I'm nice. But if you continue, I'm going to bounce your ass out of here, and I don't, in person, I think people don't realize I'm a pretty large guy, and I think that they see me here and they think, oh, he's a big guy, he's a fat guy. They don't know. They don't know until you get me in person how tall I am, how big I am, and they just like they're looking at me, and I could tell they wanted to say something so bad, and I was at that point I'd had enough, and I said enough.
Because you can only take so much. Right? Absolutely.
And your brother Anthony was just like, you did good, just not, he goes, man, I want to go snap that into a Slim Jim with that guy. And and I was told by multiple people at the conference that that's how he is. Like, he does that, he gets into it, he latches on, and I'm just like, so he kept on and kept on, and I was very gracious with that guy. And so I was just like, look, I'm going to let you stay, on one condition. So then he goes and tells everyone in the community that I am closed-minded, bigoted, and basically just wouldn't let him talk. And I said, that's all I did was let you talk. That's all I did. But there comes a point when I was like, look, and I stood up after Bettina's set. And if people were there, they know there was several hundred people there, 600, whatever it is, 600 people. And I said, look, this is the thing. I don't believe these things are a physical creature, because if they were purely physical, they wouldn't be able to manipulate the things that they do.
Yeah.
Period. And of course, those people were over there, they're over there angry because they're part of that physical whatever. But there's two kinds of the physical flesh and blood people. There's the kind that don't really care if you believe it or not, and they're not trying to beat you over the head with it. Then there's these people who seem to they want to wrap it into Bible against the Bible, against God, and pro evolution, and then also make it into a political thing. And I'm just like, no, we're not doing that. And I tell people all the time, I said, look, if I had to err on one way or the other, I would say Bigfoot is a spiritual manifestation and it's evil. I mean, that if I had to choose now, not being forced to choose, I think that they're somewhere kind of in the middle. And I think that they're kind of like people. Some of them are,
Yeah.
I've never really heard of any of them that was credible being like, oh, they're really good. Now there was this lady that came on and man, I caught so much flack from everybody. She said she praised the Bigfoot. Pretty sure you probably know who they are. And
Maybe.
Drop that on us like on the show.
Yeah.
She never said that beforehand.
None of the pre-interview.
Yeah, and she waits till we're doing it live to say that.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were like, oh,
and
okay.
her partner, whatever, like messaged me one day about, like that I hadn't asked her to come on or something. I don't remember what it was. And so a month or so went by and I was like, hey, if you want to come on the show. And then she turned it into a big old, and I told her, I said, look, I blocked your friend because she kept being with these people, and saying things with them. And I said, it's obvious. So I just blocked her. I didn't say anything mean to her. I just blocked her. I said, I don't want to be a part of that,
No.
So then she says, well, and I don't even I'm tempted this. I want to say who it is, but I'm tempted, but she says, she's like, well, I'm sorry that you feel that people are attacking you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, have you not seen? I was like, your own friend was involved with it. I mean,
like, what a gaslighter.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like people are attacking me. Would you like to see the screenshots and see the threats and everything? This is why we didn't have the second conference. And it's because of that cabal. Oh. And she was just like, and I was nice to these people when they came to my conference. I just told them, please stop talking while people are on stage.
Yeah.
And then the guy went and told the one of them, he went and told people, and he jumped on Abe's show one night. He was like, yeah, I told him this and that. No, you did not. No, you did not, sir. You just sat there looking at me like this. And then he went and told Anthony and Tony, well, I know your uncle doesn't like me. We have beef or whatever. And I didn't know we had beef. I just knew that the guy didn't believe like I did.
Yeah.
So we were at the little after party the first night. And I didn't want to make a big scene because, Ron Moorhead's there. We're all there hanging out. So, Martin Groves, friends of mine, I didn't want to make a big stink. So I went over to him and I said, why are you here starting this mess? You can leave.
And it's not the place. No.
Yeah, it's not the place. And so I didn't, and I told Bettina and Abe and everybody, I said, I'm not going to do this in front of the whole world because the conference was really good. Right?
Yeah.
They still had to show up and be like that.
Yeah.
And I know it was the guy called them to go there. He the one that was going around from table to table. And these people get so wrapped up in what they believe. And they want you to believe it so bad, Barb, that they will go to any links. Like, I think this guy, he would probably steal a police car and crash it into me if he could convince me to.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to do 17 years. He goes, okay, Your Honor, can I say, did Josh Turner say whether or not he believes it's a physical creature or not? And the judge is like, yeah, just go to jail. Okay. We don't.
Yeah.
It was worth it. I regret nothing. He's in a straight jacket going, I know it's a physical creature. God doesn't exist. Stop.
And I'll do it again, I tell you.
Yeah.
Being an atheist becomes their religion.
Yeah.
They're like these religious fanatics, and then all they do is hate,
That word is kind of a misnomer. Like, there's really no such thing as an atheist. Like, even atheists worship something. It's just not God.
They worship an idea.
Yeah, worship an idea, worship themselves, something.
I don't get why you would be so upset about something that doesn't exist,
and that's another one, Barb. How many people don't believe in Bigfoot and they want you to not believe in it?
Yes.
My friend's wife does that to me. Not his wife, it's his ex-wife now. She was still on my Facebook until, about a year ago. And I was just like, why is this person still on my Facebook? She's just like, look, more proof. Like every couple months, she sends me something that shows that Bigfoot doesn't exist. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not like this huge Bigfoot fan. Like everybody thinks I'm here to do Bigfoot. I mean, I'm here to do whatever,
Whatever.
There's plenty of things.
Yeah. I'm Bigfoot's publicist. Yeah. I'm like, yes, we did a photo shoot. It was nice. We were in the sound. The hair was perfect.
The one Bigfoot.
Yeah. And I had a consultant there. You may know her, Barb Hartman. Flash forward a few years, I take off the sunglasses. I'm so cool. I have another pair underneath. No, I'm just like, and I'm like, yeah, we're out here, man, with the cool kids, we've all made it big and we're mighty rich. Yes. We
Oh, I
feast
know
everyone.
I am.
Yep, you're rubbing your hands together. I don't even need to work anymore. Bigfoot has paid my way. You're cashing your chips, folks. You're there at the casino rolling with Bigfoot bally's. Thanks, Mr. Foot. We sure fleeced those people.
I know I wanted to have him come on tonight, but he was busy,
Yeah, that's the thing. He's always got like another engagement. He's been doing a lot of work with beef jerky too. So
yeah.
His name
Get
that sponsorship deal.
He's got the sponsorship deal.
Yeah.
Plus, he's been doing like a lot of like, what is it called?
The AI stuff.
The reels.
Yeah.
He's been out there doing all scaring hikers.
But they don't look like I've never seen a Bigfoot that looks like that.
They don't look like that at all. Like,
that.
And so I have another friend that's always trying to convince me that they're apes, right? So I'm and there again. It's probably somebody but I'm always. He sends me stuff, and I like the guy a lot, so I don't fight with him about it.
Yeah,
and I said, "Look, man, I don't believe that that's what they look like." He's like, "Oh, there's another guy up here." He says, "There's a man on the wing of this plane." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Okay, yeah. If you want to believe that they look like a giant hairy monkey thing, go ahead. And I always say that I say it snarkily, monkey, and then he's like, "I said ape. I didn't say monkey." I'm like, "Okay, one has a tail, one doesn't." Dude, what are you just semantics? I mean, you're basically saying it's a hairy, ape. It's King Kong, but Donkey Kong is out there running around. And I told him, I said, "It's not a gorilla." And there again, he's like, "Well, I didn't say gorilla." I said, "Same thing."
Yeah. Because I've seen them look like monkeys. I've seen them look like apes and gorillas, but not,
I don't look, to me, the Bigfoot, most of the reports, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say like, I'd give it as high as maybe 65, 70% come back with some sort of, people saying that they look like a primitive man. But with like hair and not really fur. I don't, a lot of times people will tell me, well, this is something I ask though. I always ask witnesses. I had this one lady, she was kind of an old codgery type lady. She's like, "Do you ask everybody all these damn questions?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do."
That's what
kind of
I
have
do.
to. And her grandson was like, "Grandma, he's trying to get," she's like 84 years old. He's trying to get, he's trying to get her to just like, look, just answer the questions. He's like, "Well, I feel like I'm being interrogated by the law." Just like something my daddy went through when he was moonshining. I was like, damn, he was a moonshiner? And so, she acted like I was a revenuer or something. And so I was like, what did it look like? She goes, "Well, it didn't have no fur. It had a hair like a man, but it was real thick and tangled up." And, so she gave me this whole thing. And I told her, I said, that's very common. And that is what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, I wouldn't know how common it is. This is what happened to me, here in West Virginia." It was a West Virginian person. And her grandson's a real cool guy. He gets on there. He's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Grandma just getting old. And she's kind of a codgery, and I said, "That's cool." But that's what the people, they say that a lot. They say that it is like a hair. It's not really fur. Do you get that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's more hair. It is. I mean, and certainly the one that I saw close up, it was definitely like hair, but it's so long. It was so long and thick. But it definitely I don't know. I haven't touched it.
You're not gonna want to go and be like, "Okay."
I just hair.
You just sit still for 2 seconds. I'm just like, cup of feel.
Yeah.
I always imagine because I'm friends with Adam Davies, and I remember Adam. He was at the conference too, man. I just started thinking about these people that I've talked about Bigfoot, and at one time he was living off grid, like really living off grid. Mm-hmm. And I remember he goes, "Hey, Josh," how he talks like that. And he says, "I just got back from being, I was out in the woods." He cracked me up so bad. And I said, "Oh, you were researching? Were you looking for Bigfoot?" He goes, "No, I was living out there." And he's like, "It was better than my ex-wife. I just chose to go out into the woods and not return. But now I must work and pay bills, and now I have things to do. I'm running a department store in Atlanta, and I must return to, from the wilderness." And I just remember when he said that, he's like, "No, I was just living out there." And it's very liberating, but it gets kind of harsh, And I remember we were kind of joking about something, and he said something about Bigfoot, and I was like, "Yeah, well, I wouldn't go up and touch it." And he goes, me neither. I don't need to know that bad. It's okay, But I think that when you end up in a situation, and man, where you were at, folks, I gotta say, it is really interesting because there are a ton of reports from that area.
Mm-hmm.
A ton of reports from that whole area right there.
It's
Let
like
me
a
give
whole
you-
culture, like it's like a cultural thing. Yeah.
You
Go
know,
ahead, I'm
when
sorry.
people go to Seattle, and when I first went to Washington when I was young, they get this impression that Tacoma, there's what is connected to the ocean. I wouldn't even really call it the ocean. It's kind of like the bay, but it's elongated bay.
That's the Puget Sound.
The Puget Sound, yeah.
It's
so
it's
people
salt
think
water, so it's not
Mhm.
an ocean, but it's ocean water.
It's ocean water, yeah.
Yeah.
And they get seals and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, orcas. We get a
Orcas,
lot.
yeah, I was going to say killer
Yeah.
whales. I mean, you
Yeah.
can see them from
Mhm.
those islands too.
Oh yeah,
The
I've seen
natives have
them out
totems.
of
If
our
you go to Vanosh, what's it called?
Vashon.
Vashon Island. Yeah,
yep.
dude, they have like the natives that were once there. They have their pillars and everything. It's a really cool place. And so then you go to these areas where people have been living for a long time, and there are people who kind of think, and I know I was one of them, that thought that was like the ocean, and then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, there's a whole nother island over there.
Yeah.
Like that there's a big island, and then there's smaller ones. So of course I wanted to island hop and kind of take it all in.
Yeah.
And the people I was with, they were like, they hadn't been there since they were kids. Well, one of them in particular, the other one hadn't been there, and I was like, yeah, so let's go and visit these places. So that was very interesting for me, and there were so many people that had said that it was like they just believed that Bigfoot is like if you go to Seattle, for instance, and you go into any store that sells touristy stuff, Bigfoot is very prominent.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, they act like it's just like it's part of the culture. It's like an animal.
Is. Yeah.
It's a tourist attraction.
Touristy, very touristy.
Yeah.
But there's so many people. When I was in the Starbucks up there, and I was over there by Pike's, the market,
Pike Place. Yeah.
Pike's Place. Yeah, Pike's Place.
Yeah.
And they sell like fish right out of the sound right there.
Yes.
And so, and you don't think about how big Olympic Forest is. You really don't have any clue how large that is. It is a large, wild wilderness place, and a lot of Bigfoot encounters happen there.
There's a lot of tribes here too. There's a lot of Native Americans. We're in the Quinault. The border is very close. So and so like you said, with that, they have for many years traded with them, had whatever friendships. So there's here, if you haven't seen one yourself, somebody that has seen one, or your cousin, and so many people, or heard them.
Yeah, for sure. And that whole area it's very big. In Washington, people don't realize the state of Washington is very large.
Yeah.
It is. It is those states, when you get out into the West, folks, depending on where you're living, you start to realize the vastness. When you go out west, you realize the vastness of the United States is actually very big. I mean, you get into Washington and you're like, holy crap, because I've gone from west to east and east to west. It is big. I mean, it's a big state. Montana, same thing. I went through Montana and it's miles and miles and miles of just wilderness. I mean, it'll be like rolling hills. And they always show like these rolling hills in Montana, but that's not all there is. And then there's these forests, and then more hills, and then more, and then there's land everywhere. And the population is very sparse. So when people will tell me from Montana or Oregon or Washington, and they start telling me, yeah, I'm from these areas, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh yeah, you're out in the middle of nowhere, because I've been all over those places. I really have. And amazingly, I haven't seen a Bigfoot. I saw one here, like maybe recently, if that's what that was, but it was so quick, But after talking to multiple people, now here's another thing I wanted to ask. Have you heard of or ran into, and this is a thing that is near a place. The first time I heard of this, I didn't go there, but somebody told me about it. And I wonder if it's a real thing. How do you describe it? Okay, so like they look like people, but they're like, but not like giants. They're just bigger than average people, but they grow really long facial hair. They don't have a whole lot of hair on their body. They're hairy, but they're not like the Bigfoot creatures. So I wouldn't know what to call them. And the first time I heard of it would be north of you guys. It would be like Port Townsend, I think somebody had said that they had seen these creatures, but they said they were not like Bigfoot, and that they were bald headed. They were like old. They look like bald headed old men. Like,
that's wild. And I'll
have
tell
you heard of
what,
that?
Well, no, I want to hear more about that. But what I had an experience back in the fall that these were definite, like they look like, I guess they look like flesh and blood, but there had to have been spiritual beings. And they came into the woods, and they were standing with the Sasquatch. And like, I'm seeing them walk right up, and they like mind spoke and told me that they called themselves the ancients. And they said, we're here to help, but if we get involved, everything's going to change. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and their vibration, there was, I had to tell them like to stop, because I can't even I can't. It was so strong, so strong. The energy like that was coming at me from them. And so they look like it's kind of similar. They're definitely human. They were
look
taller,
human.
Definitely human, taller than the Sasquatch. They look like ancient warriors. Like somebody said, maybe Nordics. I don't know that much about ancient warriors. They had like very primitively dressed, mostly like bare chested. They had long hair. Two of them had black hair. One had bright red hair. This is weird because it is kind of like, like the Sasquatch. And then there was one who seemed like he was like the leader, and he was blonde. Some of them had braids, just but they were definitely human. They were not Sasquatch, but yet they were standing with the Sasquatch.
They were standing with them.
Yeah, they like walked up, because I had been taking my dog out, and I'm looking over, and let me see. They're probably about 60 yards seems to be the comfort level, because at that point you can see, but you can't see like with great detail, right?
Yeah.
And so that seems to be the comfort level of my clan anyway. And I'm like down lower in my yard, and they're like up on the woods at that point is kind of like sits up. And so I couldn't even tell you how tall, but there were about 4 or 5 Sasquatch just kind of like standing there. And then these guys come up, and
that's not unheard of. They kind of remind me of the giants in Afghanistan.
But it's wild that you're saying that there's actually like in Port Townsend, there's a whole people talk about this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I've only gotten a couple people that have told me anything about that. And one was, I think, Whidbey. Whidbey State Park, Whidbey Island. Yeah. And it was it's called Whidbey State Park, or is it North Whidbey or South Whidbey? It's a direction. I don't know that there's a state park there. And I got a story out of there. I have a whole file is just on Washington, because I used to have one. Now, Auntie, you remember we used to have one, the Pacific, right? And then we had to get more specific.
Yeah.
So it became the West. It was the West was originally what it was. Then it was the Pacific, and then it was Pacific Northwest. And then we had to go, okay, Oregon has to have its own. Washington have its own. And I'm not going to lie, like I was totally stalking Bigfoot groups.
Yeah.
People weren't just coming to me. If I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, well, yeah, every day if somebody sent me a story, I was hustling. I mean, I was like, I got kicked out of about a dozen groups because these people were jealous. They were mad because I was asking questions. Like, how are you supposed to figure out stuff? So a couple of them were nice. They let me come back in because they didn't know who I was. At the time, they were just like, who's this guy? You're just some guy,
Yeah.
He's some guy. I don't know why they're French, but whatever. And they were just like, he's some guy that likes Dogman. That's down the hall. Why are you here in the Bigfoot group?
How you say?
And I was like, here in this group, we talk about Bigfoot and eat stinky cheese. What are you doing? And they just seem like the kind of smug kind of people. So I was like, why am I hurting you? And what am I doing wrong? Well, someone said something and then you go, hey, PM me, whatever. Like I was trying to date him or something, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, look, I would always preface it with like, look, I'm happily married.
Yeah, I just want your
I just want your story. Can you please tell me what the hell you saw? You know, and so I was.
Wait, she's saying I live on Whidbey Island, and please tell the story.
There's a lot of stuff, man. I don't know it off the top of my head. The one that I heard that I can remember that was. You know what? This one I don't even know exactly where. I just know it was Puget Sound, and I want to say it was Port Townsend. I want to say that, but I could be wrong, or it could be. What is the other one? Port Freeman
Angeles.
or Port starts with the F. No, not Port Angel. I know Port Angles. Angles is another one.
Yeah, Angeles.
That one, there's a weird story of like these mermaid type creatures.
Yeah.
Sunlight Beach. Is it called Sunlight Beach?
Third place.
Is that what it's called? It's down from Port Angles.
I'm looking and I don't see any like.
Well, maybe we can look it up.
Yeah. Port. I don't.
Let me see.
I'm looking right now.
I'm terrible with maps.
I mean, I'm looking at Port Angeles.
Port Angeles, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it south of there? East of there?
I don't even know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, because Port Angeles is like up on. It's like the top of the peninsula. So it's probably.
Okay, there it is. I found. Okay, there's Edmonds. Yeah, and I've been there, Port Orchard and Bremerton.
Oh, Port Orchard, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Bigfoot stuff there.
There's Anita Bay.
Yep.
Okay, now I see Edmonds and Kingston. Yeah. Port Gamble is another one.
Mm-hmm.
All those port towns have a lot of weird stories, and that's why I think that they swim. I think that they swim. I think they do. I think they go island to island, and I think they swim. I really do. I think that's what they do. I've told people that before, you know, and they're like, well, if they're a spiritual creature, why they need to swim? Because they're water spirits. The natives say that. They say that. But these smart people, the data says that the natives are savages and we should only be politically correct behind closed doors. We should just say what we want. Yeah. That's what they're doing. I mean, and it's like, dude, I'm not one of those like virtue signalers. Oh, the natives are smarter than we are, but they kind of know what they're talking about. You know, for me, it's all just common sense. Like what I was saying about going into the groups. I went into those groups and there was a couple back in the day. They were very specific, right? Yeah. And they were like, this group is for, so the Washington group, I was all over that because I had been up there and I was like, oh, I've been there. I've been to this place, this place. And so I remember just running around all over that area. And I remember Oregon very, like the back of my hand, Western Oregon very clearly. And I remember the East too, but I was like, because I have a really good memory and I would tell people, I heard this, this, and this. And I would, get people they said I was stalking people in their group and stalking people. Now y'all know why I was doing it. I did it for y'all. I did it for the people.
Yeah. You're just trying to get encounters.
I was trying to get encounters. And even recently, it was about, it was a couple weeks ago. I don't know if y'all know Daniel Williams. He's in that Bigfoot group of Daryl Denton's got a huge group. Everybody's in it.
Oh, I left that group. It's too big.
It's too big, right? It's too big. It's vast. Yeah, there's some people in there. Believe me, you'll get attacked for anything you say.
Yeah,
you can say like, "Well, the sky is blue." They're like, "Well, really, it's just the prism of the."
Yeah.
Because it's too many people, but it's not Daryl's fault. It's just he tries to keep control of it.
It's just too big and
too massive. Yeah, and this is what happened. Like there was a group that Dan Williams had, and I went in there, and there was somebody. They have one from the Pacific Northwest, and this woman was talking about Puget Sound. And I said something. I said, "Hey," and so I started DMing with a few of the people there, and one of their admins, the mods, doesn't like me. And here's a true story. He's a dyed-in-the-wool communist. He really is. And it's not Daniel's fault. He was sick at that time. So don't take it out. Daniel's a nice guy.
No. But I have something that I have to ask you about this. Yeah. Because I think I was kicked out of that group and blocked. And I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah, because of this one guy, because he runs around with the the guy with the skin, you know. So that dude, all of a sudden I got banned from all of them. Boom, 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 boom. And then they were saying that I was stalking, harassing. I had my own chat going with these people because I'm trying to get to the bottom of things. So this is what I say. When you try to make an omelet, you're going to break a few eggs. And if you want the information, folks, and you want to get to the bottom of it, let me do what I got to do and stop impeding me and attacking me. That's why I think there's an agenda behind this, because I come along and everybody's like, I can't figure out what's going on. I say, why don't we put the pieces together? Oh, look at that. You know, and then everybody's like, heretic, burn him, kill him. He's destroying our false narratives. No shit. You're not like it. And then everybody that comes to the show, they're like, oh man, this is awesome. You know, we're learning stuff here. And here they come with the tiki torches. You know, they're like, burn him, man. Why are you listening to this man? Well, he speaks knowledge. He is a heretic. We want you to live in the 1600s. Yeah. You know, and I'm telling you this, even the ones that are into the science and the evolution, they want to be like, we're on the cutting edge of this. Yeah. We have discovered the fire. And you're like, dude, you're living in another century yourself. This is ridiculous. And you know, you try to stand up for what is correct, and then you get attacked. And when you try to build a better community, then they don't really want that. They say it, but they don't really want it. And then you make a conference, and then that brings everyone together. You make another one, and it brings even more people together. And I made, I'm going to say this, I made $30-something thousand on that second conference. But the sad news is, I still lost like 2 grand. Yeah. I didn't even break even. But like I told Gerhard, me and Gerhard worked on it together. I said, but we almost broke even. We almost did. And amazing to bring all those people together. Yeah. Paid everyone. Every speaker. There were people there that said, nobody's ever paid me to speak. We had Lance Hightower there. Everybody was there. The who's who of the community was there at that conference. And not just that, but we had people from the UFO community, the ghost community, the Bigfoot community. That's and everybody was like, this is amazing. This is when Monica came on the show the other day, she was like, it was the best conference that I've ever seen. And she's been to a ton of them. Wow. A ton of them. And there were Bigfoot people, Dogman people, alien abduction people, everything you could imagine there. Speaker after speaker for 3 nights and 2 days. And nobody had seen a Sunday like that. Nobody. Everybody told me it can't be done. Everybody told me that. Ken was like, I'm not very optimistic about Sunday. And even Sunday morning, he was saying that. And Lyle comes up and goes, well, it's still been a hell of a conference, bro. You know, he talks, and Ken's just like, Ken's over there. He's always like, work. And he's like, there's only been 24 people coming in today. You and Barton got everybody drunk.
That's what it is.
You know, and I said, we didn't get nobody drunk. I didn't even bring booze. I said, I showed up at the after party. I said, hey, Ron Moorhead was hanging out. We had a good time. You know, and he's an OG, you know, and I was hanging out with Ron. And then when he went to bed, I was like maybe 30 minutes later, I said, I'm going up. I got to get up and speak. I was emceeing because Ken was supposed to MC, and then he was just like, oh, man, I'm tired. My throat's, you know. He had done so much work to put this thing to help me put it together. You know? And I kind of just hung out with what's his face, Garitano. Me and him talked and hung out a lot, and Josh Nogio and those guys, and you know, because we're all YouTube creator people, like film, audio, whatever people. Yeah. You know, but I'm real good friends with a lot of the authors too. You know, I had all the authors there. You know, and it was a great time. That's awesome. The point of this is though that everybody has their own opinion about Bigfoot, what it is, what it does. Yeah. Yep. Right. Yep. And the truth is always somewhere in the middle, you know, and David Weatherly has a really good take on it. He's like, you have your view, I have mine, and then there's the truth. Yeah.
And it's your truth. Like if you like, okay, these are my truths, right? Because this is my experience, but somebody could have different experiences. And that is their truth. And I don't understand why people want to fight about it. So
there's a rigidity that they want everything to be a certain way.
I just don't, because it's like, no, you know, you tell me your truth. I will tell you my truth. Let's see if we can come to common ground. I love talking to people that, that have things that they can tell me. Maybe I don't believe it. I know when I was doing podcasts, people would say, do you really believe all the things that these people say that they come on your show and say? I'm like, well, I mean, I want to listen to it. I can't say I believe in everything that they're saying, but I would never be surprised in this, you know, in the spiritual realm, the paranormal, whatever. Who knows? With all these elementals and entities, who knows? You can never say that's not going to happen. You just don't know. And yeah, it is strange how people are such diehard. We have a lot of, you know, they say like apers out here in Washington State, and I think they all think I'm just a lunatic, but this is my truth. I don't know what
because
to say.
what you know why though, Barb? Because there are a lot of apers out there. I met some when I was out there.
Yeah.
And when they're out there, they see these things with their physical eye. They're physical, but they're not getting mind speak. They're not getting any of that because they don't have the spiritual openness. So it's kind of like you're seeing the one aspect of this entity, this creature that's manifesting as a physical creature.
Because they do look physical, and I think they are physical. You know?
They are. They're physical and spiritual.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're open to it, you can connect with anything on a spiritual level. I think these things are, you know, there is, and I'm going to say this. My wife has this thing where she says there are things that are beyond an existence. Now, what she means by that, it's like the difference between our physical consciousness and the spirit.
Yeah.
They kind of hover between that. And that's why people can't comprehend Bigfoot or see him. And I think that's an important way to look at it, because she's very on the spiritual side of everything. And her encounter with the Dogman creature, which is how I met her, and I retold her. She was one of many people whose encounter I told on Vic Cundif's show, Dogman Encounters. And I told the story. Her and one of her siblings saw this creature that came into the room, and it was a black entity, but it was shaped like a Dogman.
Wow.
And when I first pitched that to Vic, I said, "Look, there's a woman out in California that has a Dogman. Can I tell this one?" Because he would kind of pick and choose. He didn't really like the spiritual aspect of it. And I told him, I said, I think she's truthful. I really do. And so he let me retell that one. And so, because it's his show, he's going to do what he wants.
Yeah,
right. I told him, I said, look, and so the narrative at that time was very much physical. And then he kind of dipped his toes in and said, well, and I said, there's a lot of people who have those encounters, man. I don't know what he's doing. I don't listen to him, but I mean, other people do. And if you do, more power to you, whatever.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I don't.
They now I've heard that they retell stories, or people will tell their encounters of, but at that time it was kind of like, ooh, we don't want to go too far into the woo. And I'm like sitting there getting encounter after encounter of the woo. And I'm going like, the woo is where it's at, because that's kind of where the truth is. And I think what Nellie saw, I look at it like that thing was manifesting. Her and her sister, one of her sisters, had found a planchette, not the Ouija board, but a planchette, when they had just moved into that house.
Oh, wow.
And so when you stop and you look at that, ooh, okay. So they said that when this thing came in the room, it was kind of like it was looking for someone. Like it was looking around, like it was, and it was kind of shocked to see them,
And maybe like, oh, you could see us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or maybe it was literally looking for the people that had been there before, and then it went back into the shadows and was gone.
Yeah.
Years later, one of my nephews, Zane, was living. He's in my book, his story, and Ken Gerhard helped me pen it because I can't write because of my fingers or whatever. And honestly, it's my work. Like I did, unfortunately for him and for Barton both, I did take stuff out because I was like, this isn't mine. And, maybe you believe that's fine, but it has to be mine. And, and there were other things that they had thrown out there. Like, yeah, I'm going to leave that. That's cool. I agree with that. But it had to be mine, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. And they understood that, but, Ken had said, when he interviewed Zane, and I had told him, I said, you need to, talk to Zane, see what you think about this. And we were going back and forth. Ken, it was interesting because he's a flesh and blood Bigfoot guy. And after that, he was like, I don't know, this Dogman thing. He's like, we interviewed like 60 witnesses and only so many of them made the cut, And I told everybody, I said, if you didn't make it, maybe we'll put it in the next book. because there's so many stories out there, right?
Yeah, there are.
And so the first one, I tried to kind of get the people that are known, a little bit, like Nick Redfern's encounter is in there, right? So Zane and Nick Redfern had something in common with Nellie. Theirs was a very ethereal encounter. Zane saw his at the cemetery where Madame Laveau in
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Oh wow.
He said he was walking home, and it gives me the chills when he told that story. He was just he said, man, it was a terrifying thing. This thing was moving around near the headstones, whatever.
Wow.
That's not uncommon because that thing moves around near, places where people have seen,
Yeah.
these entities, right? It's a cemetery, guardians
Yeah.
of the dead or whatever. But then there are cemeteries where people have claimed for years that they had seen Bigfoot lurking around the woods out there. And I've heard of like this Dogman shadow-like entity that people have claimed to see in different cemeteries. And I can't, there's so many different cemeteries I've heard stories of Dogman.
Yes.
The one in
Yeah.
Marfa comes to mind, but there are people who claim they've seen Bigfoot in and around these cemeteries too. But you have to go, okay, is this a mistaken identity? Are they actually seeing that, or is it a Bigfoot or a Dogman?
Yeah.
And when you
Right.
talk to them, it's snout or no snout. You know what I mean? That's kind of the first thing you say.
Yeah.
Why do they show up in the same areas? I believe because they're coming from the same plane of existence. That's my opinion. And these creatures that look like giant humans, they're more human looking, right? And we were talking about it. Let me look at the map here. I pulled one up. So I can tell you when I look at the names on here, I know Port Gamble for sure. Yeah, Fort Casey, and then Port Townsend is it's southwest of Fort Casey. Yeah, and I haven't heard anything from Port Headlock.
No, I haven't.
I don't know if that's.
I want to go back to what you said because I don't know if you have any more details about the werewolf in Gig Harbor, because I actually heard that too a couple of years ago. That there are two men who are werewolves that can, so they can supposedly go into this form and then go
Really?
back.
Were they natives or something? Like,
I don't think so. I don't know. See, I didn't, because I asked the person, like, oh, that's all we know. And I kind of was like, I don't even know if this is real. But with you saying it, you would have heard it from somebody else, unless it was the same people we're hearing it from. But yeah, they didn't have any information. Except that.
The story that I heard wasn't that there was a werewolf in Gig Harbor, but it was somebody we ate at some place. And this was, oh my gosh, like I said, I was a teenager and I'll be 50 in a few days. You believe that? I can't believe it. I mean,
I just turned 60 and I can't believe it. I can't.
You don't look 60 at all.
What the hell? But I'm like, it's so funny because like last weekend I'm saying to my kids, I'm enjoying this because, they're all adults. And I'm like, I'm enjoying this. Like, I can't do that. I'm 60 years old. I can't do that. I'm 60 now.
Yeah, now you have an excuse. You're like, I have to be an old codger now.
Yeah.
It's the way of things, folks. Let me hunch over and let me. Some people have been practicing their whole life. Like Anthony, he's the head of the Young Fogies of America Association. He's ready to.
Like my son.
I'm an old fuddy duddy. I'm 30.
He's like, I can't wait to be old, Mom.
Because like I'm almost 50, and people are always like, you don't have a lot of gray. You're not.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I have a full head of hair, and which makes a lot of people mad. They really they hate it. I get messages from people. They're just like, that's not your hair. You're wearing a wig, or they say I have hair plugs because I have a little bit of a calico hair. I've had that since I was a teenager. That little spot right there has been there since I was a teenager. I don't care. I got hit right there. I got a scar.
Oh, yeah.
But if you get into a bunch of stuff, you're going to have problems. But I just tell people, I said, look, I am as real as they come. I'm a real deal Holyfield. Like I did stalk people in the groups to try to get stories, is that my crime? But no, how do you think we got all these wonderful encounters? I didn't just sit there and go, okay, store's open. Let's wait and see what happens.
Right.
Hell
right.
no, it's
That's
because
so
you're not
funny.
going to get customers that way. If you have a store, go out there and spin a sign or hire a crackhead to do it. You have to do something. Right. And that's, so not that I hired a crackhead to stalk people. No. I'm saying, they're like, Mr. Wolf, I was in the group all day. I think I got like 4 or 5 leads. You gonna give me a 20? I didn't hire them to do that. They're like, I can't talk to all of them. But I had to do something, Barb. I had to do something, light the match, and dude, when we go in there and we talk, I show up and it's like, I don't mess around, dude. And I'm like, I see somebody talk about something that I'm like, hey, can we talk?
Yeah.
Probably talked to 1 million people and through that messenger, man. It filled up fast, boy. And then I was throwing my email out there. I had 2 or 3 emails and I was throwing them out there. And and you're fishing. And I'm very nice and respectful. Everybody that talks to me knows I'm not a dickhead. I joke and laugh, but it's me. And I just said, look, tell me what you saw. And then some people were like, well, it's really weird. Like people make fun of me. I'm like, that's what I want. I want to know, why did they make fun of you? Maybe they're the crazy ones,
That's what I say. And people, experience, there's like, I know I sound crazy, but it's like, no, you don't sound crazy to me because I sound crazy. But it's real. This stuff is real.
Mm-hmm. Look at Joel. What is this guy? He says, crackhead energy will find every cryptid for a cue. They'll be like, I've been out here all day with this stick. I've been hitting trees. I can't find all of them, but I'm going to find some of them. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I got to get mine.
They suddenly get very productive.
Like, this is Ted Koppel in the news today. Bigfoot has been found by none other than a pack of crackheads. The leader of this crackheads, and I come out and I'm like, I don't smoke crack. I just distribute it to the heads so that we.
But it's for a good cause.
It's a good cause. Crackheads for Bigfoot. Crackheads for finding Bigfoot.
Betterment of mankind.
You would do well in the Pacific Northwest because they like giving their crackheads.
Yeah, I show up. It's like a match when I strike. Here's the crackhead. We're gonna find Bigfoot tonight. Boom, and that's it. You just hold the sign. They come out, they're like, we found Bigfoot. They just bring more crackheads. That's another crack. What are you doing? I'm paying you crack to find Bigfoot. And then the cops come and they're like, get out of here, man. We're selling the crack here, all right? You just cut into our business. Get out of here.
Yeah.
If you haven't smoked crack, you're probably gonna. Your kids are gonna smoke crack, so get out of here. We've had enough. Puget Sound has had enough of you. It is bad over there too. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's bad.
They'll come running up to you and they'll be like, "Hey, you got any more of that crack from the Bigfoot fund?
Yeah.
You got that going on?" Hillary Clinton was here. She gave us a whole bunch. She stole it all, smoked it herself with her husband. I hate that bitch. You gotta do it right, Josh Turner. You gotta do it right. I said, you know what? I'm here, folks. Whatever we need to do to find the Bigfoot. I bet I do better than those people on the show, giving them
better be
donuts.
careful. You will have people coming up like, oh, I heard you were giving out crap.
They come busting in. Find Bigfoot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, though, Barb. You know. But I gotta say this. You are very cool and hip for a 60-year-old. You have your finger on the pulse of the Bigfoot community, and that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Because I think age is just,
like, why couldn't they have found me? Like, why couldn't the Bigfoot found me, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago? I could have done something.
Yeah, they wait. They're like, now she can't do nothing now. Remember
she can't come running out.
Then they're like, oh crap, she's still got that young people energy. What are we going to do? Now let's stand 60 yards away. She can't see us.
That's right. That's right. But it's I have, this is weird though. Like the whole time I lived at that house before I'd have my hair, in a ponytail a lot. And there's so many times like out of the blue that it's like I would get my ponytail yanked, not like violently, but then I now know that they say that that's something that they do. I don't know. Do they run up like out of a tree and do it? Or are they like literally?
Think about this though, Barb. What you just said, like, okay, there are a lot of stories, in particular up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I had gotten a bunch of stories about fae that looked like goblins that would yank people's hair. And they had this thing for braiding horse hair.
Oh, yes.
And donkeys too. And they would do with whatever animal,
Yep.
And they would mess with their tails. They'd braid their tails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you hear about Bigfoot doing that. I had somebody out of North Carolina recently. This lady, she swore up and down. She saw a Bigfoot like like stroking and brushing the hair of her horse was very peaceful with this creature. And then the next day it was braided. And I told her, I said, I've heard of that with Fae.
Mhm.
And I've also heard of that with Bigfoot. But the ponytail thing, I have ghost friends. Remember we're at the Paranormal Conference, with the Kling brothers. What's it, the Paranormal Con, whatever, in San Antonio. And we were there, and we were talking with Ken, and Aunt Celine was there, and we were talking to all these different people, and Monica and Tex was there. And we had a great time. And I was talking to this one, it was just a researcher, they have a, God, they were in the very front. I forgot their names. They gave me their information. I lost their information. It made me so mad because they had something in a ditch that was like coming out of a hole in the ground. Oh man. And these people were telling me this, and I was like, we were leaving, but it was because we were wrapping it up and I had to go because we were all meeting at this bowling alley. And I said, man, I just give me information.
Yeah.
Lost it. It was a Hispanic woman and a white guy. And I can't remember. They had a son that was real into the Bigfoot stuff too. But they were talking about going into investigations and something would yank the woman's hair. She literally, there was a woman standing, was a researcher, not anybody that you would know. It's just a research person that's really into the ghost phenomena. And she said, don't ever wear your hair in a ponytail because these things will absolutely yank your hair.
Oh, wow.
And they yanked her head back on an investigation in San Antonio. Get this is creepy. And me and Ken talked about this. They yanked her head back during an investigation. It's so hard it hurt her neck. It was a ghost area where there was like a barn. But right there, and I remember talking to Rod Nichols about it too. It was me, him. I talked to Ken because they're Bigfoot researchers. That area is inundated with Bigfoot reports. And she was walking around by a barn. And an unseen force like yanked her head back. And like I said, I can't remember their names. I got all their names and I lost all of that. I think I left it in my truck, and when it got cleaned, thrown out, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I blame Tony. He probably went in and just threw things away at random.
Yeah, you know him. Like the poor lady in the kayak.
She's like, you're numbskull. I was like, yes, blame him.
No, like that's just mean.
Yeah, well, I think she was just so frustrated. I feel bad. She seemed like she was very apologetic, and she thought we were messing with her. But there again, I think other people said things bad about us. And people always say a lot of things, horrible things about us, because you're the one that's over the target.
Yeah.
And I don't care what these people say about me. Who gives a crap? They're losing so bad they think they're in the lead. They're being lapped, and they're like, yeah, I'm ahead of him. He's behind me. I'm like, yeah, I'm on my third lap. And you're just running circles around them, and they're just so mad because they can't compete. We have great guests like you that come on, and we have these amazing, awesome discussions, and we have fun. It's a fun thing. Yes. And all they care about is making some money, to go, buy some bug spray or whatever it is that they're doing. And I can't even get into that. I'm just like, dude, I'm not over here I'm not making a bunch of money. I'm over here having fun, talking to a fellow, YouTuber friend, whatever. And, I've known you forever, and you hadn't been on the show. And Anthony was like, we should get Barb on the show.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I'm like, Barbara Walters? I think we could do it. I don't. He says, no, late. Barb Hartman. I'm like, Barb Hartman.
Oh, that's so.
He was like, oh, her.
Oh yeah. We'll talk.
We have to. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. She's busy on the 11th. Oh, darn it. Now
You're
she's
like,
not.
Cut this off for as long as we can.
Anthony's in the kitchen making a sandwich, and I'm over there like, call the wrong number. Is this Barb? No? Okay, goodbye. Look, I tried, man. She's very busy. Very busy woman.
Are you going to send me a link? He's like, damn.
He's like, what does she do? I don't know. I think she's an evangelist in some island. I don't know. Something's going on there. She's very busy. She's got a revival going on.
I was hoping she didn't know how StreamYard.
Nothing. I want nothing. Just whatever. No, it's one of those things where these people, they get really upset because you're doing something and they're not keeping up, and instead of helping to add to the energy to support us, they just try to drag you down.
Yeah.
And that thing you said about the grabbing the hair, that was something I remember hearing. And I've thought about that before, because these things will touch your head. They'll move your hair and do things like that. The house that I used to live in, Barb, that was one of the things it did.
Ugh.
Man, let me tell you, I remember like I was sitting at my desk one time and doing some stuff on the computer, and I felt this kind of weird static electricity behind me. And I just was like, I looked around, I didn't see anything. It was creepy. The house was so awful. But it wasn't all the time, right? But when it happened, you know. And so I get up and I go to the restroom, and I look at myself, and I'm like, my hair is standing up. And it was like, woo, you know, and I was like, what the freaking heck? And I kind of touched it, and I was like, and I pushed it down, and I was like, why did it do that?
They're making
then-
fun. You're like, look what we're gonna do.
And my brother, he was so petty, you know. He would snap photos of me. He would snap photos of me with this disposable cameras, looking terrible. And then when we'd have girls around or something, he'd go, "You want to see some pictures?" I'm not even joking, man. He was horrible.
Brother.
And I would just go, "No, we don't need to see no pictures." And they'd be like, "Of course, you know, of course they do. Of course they do. They're nosy." And he would come out and go, "Look at that! Look, He's looking over at me like, yeah. Of course, he's looking all like he put on one of those. Back then, we'd wear those like comic book shirts, the button-down Hawaiian shirts with the Punisher. He'd be all like, you know, after he works out, and I'm over there like no shirt on, like half asleep. Get a bad angle of me where you look, you know. Why do you do this to me? You know, like you know you're doing it on purpose. He took a picture of it. Back then we'd have selfies with the camera, so he would take pictures with these disposable cameras. He took a picture of himself in the mirror, and I just happened to be walking out all in my underwear, like, oh, you know. Oh, what a coincidence. You just popped out of your room to take that photo. Give me a break, dude. And it was just a bash on me, dude. But it had the opposite effect because I said, look at how I clean up, right? Look at me, see? And they would just be like, yeah, oh, that photo doesn't even look like you. I know, because he's an asshole. Yeah. And then he would just be so, you know, just angry, and he'd turn red. And he, you know, well, really? Well, you don't know him. He has bad breath, and he farts and he does things that humans do. And they would be like, his breath doesn't smell bad right now. Well, he brushes teeth. That's why. And I'm like, you're not helping. That's what they do. They're ugly. They're mean. They're like, okay, so you're a normal human being. You get bad hair or whatever, right? And then you fix it. What's gross is people who do not do that.
Yeah.
They come out of the gym and they're like, "Woo, I'm ripe. Oh, time to go to dinner." You know,
Yeah. Right?
You missed an important step in your life. Like maybe you should go into the showers.
Right.
You know, or go home and shower or whatever it is that you need to do. Brush your teeth. Whatever. Yeah, I don't use Axe, but I mean, whatever. You know, put it on. Do scrub. You know, do whatever you got to do. It's that cognitive dissonance I was talking about. People are so in their they're not self-aware. I've stood behind people at the grocery store and been like, good grief.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's horrible. You're sitting there going like, who's making cheeseburgers? Dude, no, it's the person. It's like they just came from work, and maybe the wife said, hey, honey, pick up something.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be.
But geez, I would have just been like, that's a hard no. I'm going to go home first because I don't want to make the world deal with my horrible stench, because at least if you're aware of it, it can show that you're not mentally ill. Right. But then you get on there and you go on your show and you're like, hey, folks, look at me, you know, and you got like this blackness under your neck and you just look like Bigfoot is staying away from you. You want me to believe you go out and see Bigfoot? I bet Bigfoot runs from you. Yeah. Because the Bigfoot's got like, look, I got my own issues, but I'm a hairy man in the woods. What are you doing?
You think I smell?
Bigfoot's like, you have soap. You don't use it.
Yeah.
You know? But anyways, you know, dirt circle. Exactly, Sean. They got the dirt circle going on, man.
Yeah.
You know, I can't understand. And then they get so mad because you're putting in work. Man, folks, I put in a ton of work in these groups. Mm-hmm. Bigfoot, Dogman. And yes, I pissed off some admins. Yes, I made some people uncomfortable. I don't care. And I was very nice to people. I wasn't rude. If they say I was being rude, they're lying. I always backed off. If they said, hey, look, you know, you're creeping me out, which nobody's ever said that. But if they said that, I would be like, look, I'm out. Good.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
You know, and I will tell women, I'll be like, look, I'm happily married. This is my wife. Her
Yeah.
name's Nellie Turner. Go look it up, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, just to make sure they know I'm not a creep. And I'm like, I just want to know your story. And if anything comes, you know, whatever, it didn't come from me because I didn't initiate anything trying to be like that. All I wanted to do was hear what their encounter was. You know, and guys too, though, but some guys are like, they're territorial, like, whoa, that's my story. Like, what are you going to do with it? You know, I'm going to make $1 million off of it, dude. Yeah, that's my whole plan. Yeah, that's my retirement plan.
Please, I know it was just that easy.
Yeah, I mean, for you, though, as a woman, I mean, you could probably more easily get a guy's story from him, you know?
Probably, but, you know.
Yeah. For me, it was a little bit harder, you know? It's like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, but I did though. I pushed, man, and pushed, and there were people that would just snap at us, and then later on they might come around. I wouldn't retaliate. I'd be like, "Look, okay, I get it. You just met me in a group, and I'm asking you for information."
Because members will complain. I know in my group, members complain if they're like, "What's this person asking if anybody has any?" Like, well, they just want to know, but I will tell them, because unfortunately, if I had to tell people, hey, don't just be, because what people are afraid of is that they're going to tell their encounter and then somebody's going to steal it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, they had a couple people.
We're not selling it for money. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing here? I had some people say that I told their encounter without their permission. Said that's not true.
Yeah.
That is not true at all. And then one person just wrote out their entire encounter, gave it to me. And I said, cool. And I told them who I was and what I was doing. And they knew the deal. And then they're like, how could you do that? You told them my story. And I said, I didn't even say your name. I could have, they're like, well, now everybody knows it's me. I'm like, who knows it's you?
Right.
Who said,
right.
It's not that big a deal. I mean, I guess I was a little pushy. I admit it. I'm not going to lie. How would you get to where we're at if I didn't push?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was 2 a.m. and I was showing up in people's houses and just, waking them up in bed. And look, hey, it's raining outside. You got the slicker on. Look, oh, the hook. No, I had to break into your house. Look, hey, calm down. Put the gun down. Put the gun down, sir. I just need to talk to your wife. Me and your wife have something going here with it. I don't mean like that. I mean, if we had Bigfoot, it was a big thing between us. Bigfoot, Yeah, it was a little misunderstanding with a few hundred people. I got the cops called on me, got arrested for breaking in.
People are so sensitive nowadays.
I know, and then they get real upset because you're giving away crack.
Yeah.
You're never supposed to do that or smoke it. I'm not training for the Olympics.
I thought this was America.
America.
This country's going to hell in a ham basket.
Well, yeah.
Maddie with the ham basket. Maddie, stop using ham baskets. Not. Let me tell you something now. Here in Texas, we love ham just like anywhere else. But we don't just go walk around with it in a basket. Those are for hands, not ham. Gertrude.
Wait, is it a ham basket? I thought it was a hand basket. Or is it a ham basket? I don't know what it is.
So Barb, we have a joke here. You want to tell it, Anthony?
Yeah, so Maddie actually thought that it was hell in a ham basket.
Oh, okay.
She actually thought that. So we never let her forget it.
What's up, Rye Voss? I see Rye Voss in the chat. What's going on, Rye? Rye has a show, Codega's Codex of Curiosities.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just tease her about it. I think in one of the next podcast episodes, either we teased her about it or we're gonna tease her about it because we recorded.
I think it was in the last one.
So it's not come out yet.
No, I mean I think it was on the last one that dropped.
Did we talk about the ham basket?
Yeah. I think we did.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
maybe it is ham basket in some places.
I don't believe that. I think that we're being nice, and Maddie's just
ham
like
solo. It could be ham solo.
Ham solo.
Okay, so serious question here. Now, here's something I have to ask because we're talking about the Bigfoot thing here. Do you believe in gifting them? Do you believe in giving them food or any kind of anything?
I believe in gifting to the extent that it is a gift, like an introduction, like here's some flowers, here's some like toys. The only thing I've gifted is I gave some like organic apples, like a bag of apples, because I was told they like that. But this isn't on a regular basis. But they did not like the apples. It just sat
because they probably weren't really organic. Now you know not to get them.
Yeah, right. They like organic Granny Smith apples. I know that because they.
Well, yeah,
they
those
just-
organic Granny Smith are too tart.
Yeah, but I guess they just maybe I don't know. But I absolutely don't think that you should give food on a regular basis.
Mhm.
One thing that was really, because again, okay, now though, even with apples, I didn't see the Sasquatch taking them and eating them. I have no idea. It could have been anything, but this was pretty cool. When you go to the grocery store and there's like the bread's like Italian or French loaf, and it's like buy one, get one free. So I did that one time and I'm like, oh no, like there's no way we're going to be able to eat two loaves of bread.
So you give one to the
So I put it out, stuck it in the crook of a tree that I call it the gifting area. Cause again, I'll put little trinkets or whatever. They're not really usually interested in any of that anyway, but go out the next day or 2 days later, the bread's gone. I'm like, okay, about probably like 5 days, 5 days after that, there's the bag empty and it's under the tree, folded in half with a rock on top.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, because if it was anything else, they're not going to bring the bag back with the right. Just weird.
That is weird because
Yeah.
you got to be careful though. I got to say, man, I like you, Barb, and you and your husband have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Just
I think
doing
definitely
things like that because it could be something. I don't know. You just got to be really careful.
Thank you.
I mean, and of course, Granny Smith apples, Bigfoot's probably going to be like, these are too tart. What am I making a pie here? I'm making a delicious pie. I don't need these. He throws them,
No, they like those though. That's the
Oh, they
thing.
do like them. Do they like the tartness? Okay.
Weird. I think maybe the others were too sweet. I don't know because I only did the apples twice. It was some kind of red apples, and I know you're supposed to say organic because they will not eat any fruit or vegetables, but I don't know because I've never tried. So.
Yeah, you got to be real careful with all that too, because I mean, it is a form of supplication, and when you're offering stuff like that, it could lead to a habituation that you don't want because they could decide, hey, we're just going to be here,
right?
And this woman's going to give us stuff, and then if it doesn't, if you don't perform, then they have a problem. There was a story that Nellie covered. A guy was out in California in the desert. And he was, there's not much to eat out there. And there were these desert Bigfoot creatures out there, which I think they live under the earth. I do. I think they come out of the earth.
Yeah.
And these things he was leaving them rabbits. And there was like a Dogman creature, Bigfoot creature, whatever. There were different stuff, and he was feeding them.
Oh.
And so, you got to be careful with that because, I mean, I've heard a lot of stuff going south with that crap. There was somebody out in Alpine, Texas, who had told me about a Dogman type creature. She was like, I think it was a very scrawny, like skinny coyote looking kind of creature, red wolf kind of thing, And when she left it food, that created a ton of problems. And then I told her, I said, are you familiar with the term skinwalker? And then she was like, kind of, yeah. She's Hispanic. And I told her, I said, well, she's like, my grandmother's Yatki. There's a lot of Yatkis in, that Western corridor, Native Americans, And I told her, I said, that is a huge deal, that brujeria, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I didn't think about that. I said, yeah, I don't think this thing is a normal creature. Like, I don't think it's even like a Bigfoot. I think this thing is very much like a skinwalker. Mm-hmm. And when she gave it that, and what she gave it was, it was kind of funny. What do you call that with the English people? They eat the beef inside the bread. Beef Wellington. Beef Wellington.
Yeah.
So this is a crazy story. Her name was Anita. name was Anita, and she's like, I gave it some leftover beef Wellington. She goes, and I thought maybe it had gone bad because this thing got angry, and I was like, no, it got angry because it came back to get more, and it was.
Oh my gosh.
You don't want to do that. And then there was this guy that lived out near Fort Davis who was her abuelito's friend. And he told her, he says, that is a shape-shifting brujo. And that thing has been around for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
And it had stalked her grandfather. And this guy told her, he says, Mija, you never should have done that. And this thing didn't go away. I have a whole thing about that.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying what you're doing is the same, but
no,
offering these things because you do have these different hodgepodge type creatures. And I would say, if I had to I'd say Port Townsend, they're going to be different than the ones down, in I mean, where they were talking about werewolves. I mean, it could be, I mean, you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know.
You got these whole, like you got different types, different types of things, different places, I mean, there's no telling what you could get into. I mean, if you go to Gig Harbor and they're talking about a werewolf, right? Mm-hmm. And you go to Port Townsend, they're talking about these creatures that aren't really Bigfoot. They're some kind of, well, I mean, for lack of a better term, giant,
a humanoid type
a humanoid type creature. And then you have Vashon, and Maury Island, you got those and those places, they have stories of Bigfoot. Like
they have the UFOs.
I've heard a lot of stories of UFOs and Bigfoot in those areas. And it's here. Now here's something I have to ask you, and I know you've heard of this. Not only is the Pacific Northwest, in particular where you live, which I believe is like ground zero.
Yeah, it's
the heart of Bigfoot territory in the Northwest, right?
Yeah.
I think it really stems from there and kind of goes out. Because if you looked at a map of the Bigfoot reports that we got, and we've been kicking around an idea about making a map of the different reports, right? But then we don't want people going and harassing witnesses. That happens.
Yeah.
But it looks like somebody shot a shotgun into the map. Remember, Anthony, we were talking about this?
Yeah.
And it was like they shot it in the Pacific Northwest and it just kind of spattered out from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then everybody talks about Oregon having all these Bigfoot, but not nearly as much as, up there in where she's at, in Puget Sound. And then it just kind of goes down and kind of tapers down into the northern part of California, and then it kind of stops. Then where it kind of stops is interesting. You go down and toward the middle of California and you start getting into the Rebob territory where you get these flying monkeys where you don't hear about Bigfoot, you hear about that.
Oh, wow.
Then further down and to the west, there's a bunch of Dogman stuff, especially in that Sierra Nevada area. You start getting Wendigo creatures. Mm-hmm. One of them I've been following for years. And this one guy, I'm not one of my favorite people, but he first broke the story, and I got to give him credit for it, was a creature known as Penelope. And this thing, it reminds me of those giants that we were talking about from Port Townsend, because they were like, it was like this long, scraggly hair. It was like a female. It was really tall, gangly, is about 7 feet tall. And it was a guy and his son that were out camping. Remember that story, Anthony?
Yeah.
And then there was another report from that area with a park ranger who reported seeing this thing crawling backwards,
Pale
crawler looking thing. And the guy said that it screamed like it was screaming, dude. And he wakes up and he looks out and this thing is out there just, and the pot belly looking thing. Well, these creatures that people were talking about with the long beards and the bald heads, they look kind of like that. They look like that, kind of like that. And so you get this weird hodgepodge of stuff. And in that particular area, man, like that Donner Pass, which is really known for the cannibal thing that happened at the party,
Yeah.
And so that particular area of the Sierra Nevadas, like the tip of it going down, there's a lot of weird stories of these creatures, and they'll run around naked. And Anthony, you hit the nail on the head. Remember when we got the report, we called it the ice thing. That guy called it the ice thing. South Dakota.
Mhm.
It was a Wendigo story that I did on another guy's show. And we really needed to retell that story for our show. But it was about this Wendigo creature. These guys were hunting and they saw it in South Dakota in the Black Hills. And it was just coming out like it was just tall, gangly, covered in ice, and it wasn't snowing. So they don't know why or how this thing was. And it was crazy because
Weird.
this is, weird. Like there's these weird stories with these weird creatures like that. And you get these reports, but a lot of them seem to be regional. And so in that Sierra Nevada area, you get these stories of these like Wendigo type creatures, right? And people will be like, what is that? Like, why are these beings, but you get multiple reports. It's not a one-off. It is not, and if it's a one-off, I'll just put it away and we'll wait.
Right.
Now, if you let Tony do it, everything's a one-off. We'll make a new file, and like, well, they were eating a Snickers. That's why I named it that. Okay. Thank you for that, Tony. We appreciate that. Yes. You're welcome. Yeah. That's why she called him a knucklehead or whatever. I can't remember exactly what she worded it. I got to go back and look, but it was hilarious. I'm not striking on her for that. It was just that part's true. She got that right. And he admitted it the other night. He was on the show. He goes, okay, yeah, I did mess up some stuff, and I go throw some stuff in there, and I mix it around, and you should be thanking me. I mix it and cook it in the pot like gumbo. Okay.
That's good.
You get these encounters, right? So my question though, like when you are up there in that area, which like I said is like ground zero, and people are always seeing Bigfoot in that area because it's everywhere, and you have these different creatures in these different areas. Like, and I have to ask this, of all these creatures we've talked about, which could be, and you're smart not to walk around in those woods where you're at. I just would be like, hey, the locals, but you don't know what these other ones are, because Sean Island is not going to be the same as what's up there in Port Townsend and so forth, so on and so forth, or Whitby. So what would you say would be the most terrifying? Because aside from what would it be a werewolf like creature or a Wendigo, or would it be a pale crawler? Or?
Yes, probably. Well, pale crawler. Oh my God. Yes, that's so terrifying. The Wendigo, also hope I don't ever see. There's a creature that is I don't know where exactly it is. Like or even to like, it's kind of like it would be, let me see. So if like, all right, Portland, Oregon, it would be above.
Those are called hippie liberals. Those are
yeah. Yeah, also terrifying and
immediately 3 people jump off. They're like, "You're offended." Bye.
Yeah. But this thing is and a lot of people have seen it and reported it. It's like a big dog, but it's like a dog that has been that is like decomposing, and it smells really bad, like they say, like death. I don't know if there's a name for it. Friends of mine that are paranormal investigators, they've seen it twice. And they said it's not even like doesn't look like a werewolf or like what you'd say a Dogman. It's just like a big, huge dog, and it will chase your car, and it just like comes out in the dark, out of nowhere, and thank God they both times they've seen it. They've been in their car driving out of wherever they were investigating, and this thing, and they said it's like all like its skin is like decomposing, like hanging off. Yeah, like a zombie dog man. Yeah,
I was like, like old Shuck kind of, Yeah, I thought of a commercial for that. That'd be funny, You're like, here at Bow Wow Pet Chow, here's our mascot, old Shuck. He comes out. Oh, he's like got he's like shocking with a cattle prod. Oh, that's my face, Shuck. Eat the pet chow.
Well, hellhounds. That's what it sounds like. Like, ugh, yeah.
Made with real brains for your zombie body. You can smell those pork and beans in there. There you go, old Shuck. He eats the spoon, and they got him on like a chain, and there's like ghoul behind him holding
Oh
him.
God.
That'd be a crazy commercial. I thought about it. It really went through my head. I was like, that would be crazy. Just to do a skit like that would be funny, right? No, we have talked about that too, though, Barb. What you're talking about is weird because we have actually talked about zombie. We just did one on it was zombies, and the only reason we put Dogman in there because there was a person that saw these zombie looking thing. They saw a Dogman at the end of this road where this witch lived.
Oh God.
That was the only thing with that episode. It wasn't a zombie Dogman, but we did cover a report. We did a show, Missouri. That one in particular. There was one in Missouri, and it was we'd call it a zombie Dogman, but it was like a werewolf, like on two legs, right? And the skin was falling off of it. Yeah. And it was nasty. And we were talking about it maybe having, because it was near some caves.
Oh.
And the more I thought about that, I thought about what if these creatures, they come from out of the inner earth. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that they do. This thing gets some kind of fungus. There are some nasty funguses.
Yes.
You remember the guy from Ecuador, the spelunker guy? Was it Ecuador? It wasn't Ecuador. Where was he from? I sound so racist. One of those Mexicans.
The guy who
not
saw
from
those
Mexico.
crystal spiders in the cave.
Sounds terrible. He's a Hispanic dude. I'm Hispanic too, but I wasn't trying to be like he's just one of those guys.
I get it. Yeah, no,
he's from
I'm
South
not
America.
like offended by every freaking thing.
Yeah, because I don't want to sound bad. Like I don't remember where the guy's from. It's
no, he really was from. If he's from Ecuador, I mean, that's not.
Yeah, he's from.
How racist of you to say?
Exactly, saying that he's some Latino from one of those Latino countries.
Yeah.
But no, he's actually pretty cool. And then we had another guy. His name was Brad. He's like me. He's an in-betweener beaner. He's half Hispanic, half white.
Uh-huh.
And so Brad told me, he's a spelunker here in Texas. He says, dude, there are caves everywhere that you could just go down. But this guy, he was a spelunker, and he was either from Ecuador, and I know he was in Belize, but he was in Ecuador, I believe. But I think he's from Peru or Ecuador. He's going to message me, watch. In a couple of days, he'll get around to watching. He'll be like, hey. His real name is Rodrigo. He's actually pretty cool. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a good friend of mine. I know two Rodrigos, and they both coach jiu-jitsu. Can you believe that?
Wow.
That's crazy, right? One of them is Brazilian, though. But this guy, I'm pretty sure he's Peruvian, but he was in Ecuador, and he told us a crazy story about these white spiders. And that when he shined the light on them, get this, when he shined the light on them, and then he tried to go back up, he looked down, they were all glowing.
Oh, wow.
So one of the people, they have like a park there, kind of like we have National Park, but it's called something else. And he said that one of those rangers told him, oh yeah, those things, that's a fungus. And that those spiders are all like, that species would normally not be all together, but they've all been parasitized.
Oh,
and so they're working as one big hive. Yes. Dude.
Oh no.
And that they had wiped those spiders had wiped out everything else in the cave, and now they were like eating each other.
Ew.
11-11. Look at that. Yeah. You're like, ooh.
That's
exactly.
That's disgusting.
It is. But it was horrible. He was telling me this, and he said that he'd gotten bit by something. And at first they thought it was a black widow because he went spelunking in Vietnam. And he was telling, the guy's a really interesting guy. He has a real thick accent. Spanish is his first language, obviously. And my other friend, Rodrigo, Portuguese is his first language. So it's hard to get him on the show to talk because they would be such a thick accent that they'd be better to speak and have like a translation. So I just tell his stories, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he was telling me that when he was in Vietnam, he got bit on the arm by some kind of spider. And they thought at first it was like a black widow because they're all over the world, right? Yeah. And he said, I didn't see what it was. It was just black. So they thought it was a black widow. He goes, and dude, it happened so fast. And they said that the venom he almost lost his arm.
Oh my God.
He was in the hospital for like a week, and then he had to go back. Whoa. And then when he was going to get on the plane, they were just like, what is that? And they quarantined him. And then when he got back to his country, they held him there again. And then when they did some tests on it, and I think it was Peru, they found that it was a type of rattlesnake venom.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, and this is what I told Rod. I said, Rod, you realize that the same venom that is in rattlesnakes is the same. It's like the same sort of toxin that's in black widows, but black widows is like 36 times more potent or something like that.
Oh.
And he was like, really? And I said, yeah. And so it is the same toxin. So they think that this thing, though, must have been delivered a much more potent. It was a spider. He knows it was a spider. But they think that it delivered a much more potent bite, whatever this was, and that it couldn't have been a black widow because they can't deliver that much venom.
Huh.
So the little bastard that bit him, it was he said about that big, like that.
Just like allergic to it too, you know.
Yeah. But he said it was big. Like it wasn't a tarantula, but it was like
I'll have to ask my daughter-in-law's Vietnamese. I'll have to ask her what they
maybe
have.
if she know. Well, yeah, and Tony's
she
mother's
would know.
Vietnamese.
Okay, all right.
Tony's mother was just like, "There's a lot of spiders. Don't go in caves."
You know, that's what she would say. Like, don't go near them. I don't know. What do you care? Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like, I have
Why
a
are you
remedy.
asking me this? I don't care about that.
Oh my gosh.
We don't know.
Yeah. Spiders are. Yeah, Lawrence Morgan says I hate spiders. Yeah, I
Yes.
do too. But our friend, he told us, he's like, dude, I'm always encountering spiders, and he's like, and they're weird things. He saw a worm come out of the top of one of them's back, and I said, yeah, they get parasitized.
That's disgusting.
Mhm.
My husband got bit by when we lived in Tennessee. He got bit by a brown recluse.
Brown recluse.
Ugh, yeah, and that was.
Here's an interesting thing. Texas and Tennessee are separated by 1,000 miles, but guess what? We both have brown recluses, but there's states in between us that don't have them. So I have a theory, because a lot of the people that settled here in Texas in the early going lived in Kentucky and Tennessee. A lot of people that fought at San Jacinto, the Alamo, Goliad, Gonzales, and these places where people died fighting the Mexicans, the Mexican army. They were Tennessean people who came. That's why the football team, the college, the University of Tennessee, they're called the Vols. They're the volunteers, because they volunteered to come to Texas and fight. Davy Crockett being the most notable. Yeah. So my theory is these little bastards love to travel and hide. They do. They really do. And so maybe they brought them here.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. And then they spread. I read an article. Get this. I read an article the other day, and it was all about a house that had been completely taken over by brown recluses. And they had the scientists go there, right? These entomologists. And they captured 242 of them in 3 days.
Oh, my.
Can you imagine the people living there? Yeah. Good grief.
That is terrifying.
And that necrotoxin, boy, it's necrotic. It'll make you have a bad day. I can tell you that. I mean, and where I grew up, there were just copperhead snakes everywhere in Rockdale, that eastern sand, And, in Taylor, we used to not have rattlesnakes, just chicken snakes. And now there's rattlesnakes everywhere. And that's what I'm telling you, the Mandela effect is nobody knows where they came from. We just know they're everywhere now.
Yeah.
But where I lived out in Rockdale, my dad was like, hey, these copperheads, they blend in with the sand. They look like it. You can't. And so I stepped on one like 3 days into being, I was like 8 years old. And I was putting my kickstand up on my bike, and I just put my foot down, and this thing does this. And I'm like, oh, and I dropped my bike and I jumped back, and I had this dog. She was so fast. We think she was part coyote because she looked coyote and chow, and she had some shepherd in her, but she had that purple tongue like a chow. Oh. She was built like a coyote, and I always thought she was part, because we got her from some people. She was a stray, but she was the greatest dog. And that dog, she just grabbed that copperhead, took it and shook it and let go. And that thing was like, messed up, And then I'll never forget that same house. We stayed there for about 6 months before we moved into another neighborhood, and we stayed there for a couple of years. But that we woke up to barking. My dog's name was Rosie. And we go outside, and Rosie was going around and around, and there was this copperhead, and it was rearing up, and then it was going back down and rearing up. And what was so weird is copperheads don't hold their body up like that. But my dad, my mom, me, my sister, we all remember this copperhead kind of moving around like a cobra, like the way it was. And my dad, he was like accustomed to these snakes because he had grown up in that area, whatever. And he says, copperheads don't do that. But we thought maybe our dog had kind of was, because the way she was swaying back and forth, she was weird. She was a weird dog. she was kind of hypnotizing it, and then she went around the back of it when my dad came out.
Oh.
Rosie grabbed it from the back of the neck and bit it and just killed it. And I was like, and she was killing those copperheads like crazy.
Wow.
And she kept our yard. We had a little yard, it was surrounded by woods and, whatever, a pasture.
Wow.
But she kept the yard clean from them snakes. And every couple days we'd find one dead until eventually we didn't see anymore.
That's incredible.
Yeah. She was an amazing
Oh
dog. Yeah, I love that dog. Yeah, and I had some really good dogs, man, and I swear, like this Cooper, my border collie now, one of them, he's the return of my border collie when I was a kid. He looks just like Rascal, my border collie. He looks me in the eye, and he's so
I think
much
I agree with that.
Great,
I agree with that. Yep.
Because I've even called him Rascal, and he's turned around and looked at me. They're so smart. Those border collies are so smart. Super intelligent dogs, man.
We have a mini Australian Shepherd, which is similar. And he acts like a border collie. But when we got it's actually my daughter's dog, and when she got him, I was like, oh my gosh, these eyes look like Cricket, like a chocolate lab we used to have. And it's like looking at me, I'm like, oh my gosh, is that Cricket in there? Because it's just they just look at you, like, whoa.
Yeah, my cousin Sherry and her husband Rob, they had a little mini Australian Shepherd, such a sweet dog, and then I think the coyotes got her.
Oh no!
Yeah, those little minis are so cute. I like miniature pinchers.
Oh yeah, they're cute. Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. I used to be a dog handler, right? I trained dogs for like 3 years. I did it. It was like a side job for me, and I worked for a security company at one time called Reliable Canine. And we actually handled dogs, and I trained dogs, and I actually got a job training them for one of the police departments here. And I did it, like I said, off and on for a couple of years, man. I did it. I really enjoyed it. It was like a side thing for me, and I made pretty good money.
Yeah.
And I had Shepherds, and I had, Rottweilers, and I had Malinois, and I had, Mastiffs. And I could train you. If you had a dog, like I could help you train it, right? And so I was really good with these dogs. And I'm very good at being like the alpha and teaching them and teach them all kinds of stuff. And so we had this dog he was such a good dog. I love that dog. And his name was Fang. And he was a red pincher, and he had a big old body though. He was a big old dude. And he was the sweetest. I could not get this dog to be even aggressive at all. Like I tried to get him aggressive, and he'd look at me and go, we're just going to play. And I'm like, come on. So they said, we need this dog to have some kind of fight in him, so he didn't pan out. But there was a woman that I worked with, Sergeant Lopez. I remember she took him, whatever. And she had a woman that was her partner, right? Whatever. So I never ever met her. I never met her girlfriend, whatever. And so she lived like in San Marcos. I remember that. And I never like met her people or anything like that. And I only worked with her for a little while, but we kept Fang for a while, and we tried to teach him, and he was one of mine. And so we gave him back to her, and that was the only dealings I really had with her. And so about 2 years later, two years later, I'm working downtown, and there's back when there were cabs, they don't see cabs anymore. It's Uber and Lyft, right?
Yeah.
And I'm standing outside with my bouncers, and a couple of my guys are out there. And one of them, he's this big, tall, like luchador from Mexico City. He's a big, tough guy. And he kind of has this voice like this, he talks. It looks like the Undertaker, And I'm sitting there talking, and his name's Chico, and Chico goes, "Wolf." He goes, "Wolf," and I'm like talking, and I finally I'm like, "What?" He goes, "This dog has been barking for like an hour, and it's like." You go back inside, you come back out. When you come back out, he barks. He goes, "This dog." And I look, and there's this woman, really nice. I got to know her. She was a really nice lady. And this dog was jumping and jumping and jumping. And I was like, it was like, there's another bar next to ours, ours is a big club. And then it was down the corner of San Jacinto. We were just talking about San Jacinto, right? The street, right? And I'm looking, and he goes, "Dude, every time you come out, that dog starts going crazy. Do you know it?" Something like that. And I thought it was kind of a funny thing to say, but Squid was like, "Yeah, dude, the dog just been barking." And the lady was out there kind of talking to one of the police officers, and the dog was just jumping up. He looked really happy. And I said, "That dog looks familiar." So I started walking over there. As I got closer, he was doing that wiggle thing. And I said, "Oh my gosh." And I went up, and dude, she like, I don't know, he got loose or something. He jumped up on me, and I was hugging him. Man, oh man, it was Fang. It was that dog. It was the red
Oh.
pincher.
My
And
God.
Scorpion, not Scorpion, D, my brother, he can attest to this. He came walking up, he was behind me. And I said, dude, I used to train this dog.
Oh
He was
my
just licking my
gosh.
face, and he was just so, happy to see me. And the lady, she was from Wisconsin. She talked like this. She goes, you know this dog? And I'm like, yeah, this used to be Sergeant Lopez's dog. I used to work reliable because she's like,
Oh
oh my
God.
gosh. She's like, that's my ex-girlfriend. And so I got to know her, and me and her hit it off, and we became friends. And I would actually, it turns out she lived in my friend Pete's apartment complex. And so Pete was my old roommate. He's been on the show. He lives up in Leadville, Colorado now. And so shout out to Pete, but he's told some weird ghost stories, and he searches for Bigfoot up there. He swears up and down there's Bigfoot all up in there, and we've heard a lot of stories about it.
Yeah.
This dog, though, I trained it, and it was just like it went crazy.
That's
And
so sweet. Oh,
me and her became friends, and I would take her to dinner sometimes just so the dog would come and it knew Ivan and Caesar, my German Shepherd and my Mastiff. And so we kind of set up play dates, and
yeah.
they would just play, run around in the dog park and in the yard, and they knew each other. And I told her the whole story. I told her, that dog was a washout in the academy. And she goes, yeah, that's why Lopez just gave it to me. And I was like, wow, she just left him, like, oh, here, take him, because he's not going to be.
Oh, wow.
And I said, because he was too sweet. He was such a good boy. He just, dude, he didn't want to bite. He didn't want to bite. And there was a Malinois that was kind of like that too. And there was another one named Frenzy. That dog was nuts. I mean, it was nuts. And so, Frenzy eventually attacked the other Malinois, which was a female, and Fang went nuts and tried to like fight that other Malinois to get, So that's the only time I ever saw him be aggressive, was to defend his friend,
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, this dog's just not going to work out because it doesn't want to bite when it wants to bite when it wants to. I said, no, it's being aggressive because of its friendship with that other dog. And this guy, this dipshit that looked like Freddie Mercury, he's like, the dogs don't have that kind of relationship. Dogs don't do that. They don't have friends. I don't know where you got your degree from. Whatever dog academy, you need to go back and get your money back.
Oh my God.
Okay, Fire Marshal Bill, let me tell you something.
Fire Marshal Bill.
So we got into it, and then a couple weeks later, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to train with you guys anymore. Freddie Mercury's a great trainer. Just let him be, whatever. And so I left. I just said, I'm not going to do this anymore because I just couldn't get along with that guy. He came out of nowhere, and he was like the world's foremost expert on dog shit, whatever. So I just quit doing it, but I remember that dog. And so we became friends, me and her, but she did eventually like move back up north or whatever, because she was from, Milwaukee, she was from Wisconsin, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was an amazing animal. And there were so many of them that I had trained that were great. I became so attached to them as like they were like people to me. Animals. Yes. I can bond with animals, Me too. I can bond with people too. Like I'm not one of those people who's like, well, I hate people and I love animals. I dislike the hell out of some people, but I don't dislike many animals, And I've had problem animals. They'll bring me an animal and be like, well, this cat or this dog is just a piece of shit. And then they're fine with me. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what you were doing to this animal that made them, what were you doing that made the animal like, don't do that. Maybe you were, being mean to it or something. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't know. I mean, it's been that way, and I had fish, I used to have aquarium. I still do, but I have these cichlids and they're very aggressive, and my brother or anybody I'd tell them, go put your finger like we're drinking and my brother puts his finger in there and there's one Oscar just bit the crap out of him.
Oh my gosh.
I just go and I pet him. I'm like, look at this. The tiger Oscar. Me and him were like buddies, man. He was cool. I didn't have a problem with him. And my brother goes, oh, that's awesome. You're the fish whisperer, I told him, I said, it's all on your demeanor. It's your personality. The energy you bring to an animal is what you're going to get back. Yeah. It is. It's the truth. I love animals, man.
I do too. Oh my gosh.
I don't believe that Bigfoot is an animal, though. I think they have too much human intelligence, and I do believe that it comes from this Nephilim bloodline. I don't think that they're a good thing, but I'm going to give you this. Be really careful up there because where you're at, there are a ton of them.
Yeah.
They're not all nice.
Yeah. I
You know?
got you. Thank you.
Yeah. Barb, I'm going to run. Thank you for coming on. And-
Thank you
and,
for
you know,
having me. I'm
I had
glad.
a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah,
this
I
is-
did
this is
too.
what we
I did
do.
too. Thank you. And you great gosh, people in the chat are awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. everybody, for
We didn't have
watching.
a huge crowd tonight because it's Friday. We always kind
Yeah,
of
well.
do real good on Friday, but don't take it. Nothing to do with you,
Oh.
you know. But
No, I
Friday's
don't
never
even
been
look
good
at numbers.
for
I
PRT.
don't. I didn't even. I have no idea. I just saw
Yeah.
like great people making comments.
I
Thank
hang
you.
up with you and I'm like, folks, that was Barb. That's why we didn't have nobody. Never have her back on. You know how?
Oh,
And the chat's like, no shit. You know. No, it ain't you at all. It's just Friday, man. Anthony was
you,
like,
Andy.
yeah, Friday. Because Anthony, you know, he's kind of like a coach. He's like, I just want an ugly win. You know, he's just like, hey, man, I just want to get 400 people in there. You know, I think we broke 400, maybe. I don't know. But it's just, we just don't ever do big numbers on Friday. That's why we never
No.
quit doing Friday.
Rebecca.
People on Friday are just like, I love PRT, but not on Friday.
Yeah, well,
I got plans
thank
for
you,
Friday
Brady
night.
Files. Well, these
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
awesome. Please look me up on my YouTube, and because I put my best evidence on there, and I think I have some really darn good audio.
Mm-hmm. What do you? Can you play something?
Yeah. Let me. Let's see. What's it?
Because I was going to tell you, anytime you want to jump on and say something about if it's a Bigfoot, whatever, and you just want to jump on, you can co-host. The offer is
Okay.
there anytime you want.
Let me
You
see
and Dick Richards and Abe Cius, anytime you guys want to jump on, just jump on.
I'm gonna see what
You know?
I'm just checking on my phone because I don't know what this one.
And for everyone watching, if you want to check out Barb's channel, the link to it is pinned at the very top of the live chat.
Oh, that's. I got some. Let me see.
Here, man.
Shoot. I want to get a really good one. Sorry, guys. Because I have some the guy that who I say is the alpha. No, it's not the alpha male. He's the clan elder. He has such a deep. Let me just find on my YouTube. Such a deep voice, and it's like, holy crap. I know him as soon as he comes out. Okay.
It would be weird if he was a Bigfoot and he was like, eh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I got to go back. I didn't hear him for a while. He's been gone, and I was kind of getting bummed out because I didn't hear him, but he's back. So I'm happy. I'm happy about that. All right, let's see. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Yeah, because some of these, it's where's a really good one? They're like, yeah, right, sure, we want to go to your thing. Sure, we're gonna go to your channel. Barbie can't find anything.
They will. They'll go check it out.
Let's see. Because some earlier stuff is really. Oh, well, here's a pretty cool one. This is a human sounding one, though, that freaked me out because I thought it was like a human. This is the same Sasquatch. And let me just tell you, we did a spectrogram on this one, and it turned out it was not human. So this is 3 recordings, like a compilation of the same one.
You know, they have a tendency to mimic humans.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, I just want to, Gary. So yeah, this night, my son and my daughter, or my daughter and my son-in-law were watching television, and I'm listening through the cameras, and I'm like, wait a minute, is this voice, is this on TV? And I go out and I said to them, would you guys turn the television off. And then I'm like, oh crap, it's still going on. And it really did. But I want to see the part where, let me see, where it, oh, all right, here we go. I'd say he sounds like Kurt Cobain because he almost has like a, here we go.
Wow.
Yeah. I just heard him last night or the night before. So wherever he was back. So yeah. There's only a couple. There's one that I call the growler. And there's only a couple that like have such distinct voices that I know. And then just the like the not alpha male, the clan elder. I do want to, let's see.
So here's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So get the audience acquainted with you on the live, but I really want to record with you because you reach a wider audience because you get the pod people.
Yeah.
Because they just refuse to go to YouTube, and then you get the YouTubers, like they'll hear that too.
Okay.
And I wanted to go when we do the audio. I'd love to record with you, and you'll get a much wider audience.
Let's do it.
Twice as many people, and then you can play the audio clips.
Yeah, and I'll have it lined up because man, there's some that are so dang like, it's really like right off the bat, and I can't. All right. Here's just a.
Ooh. Yeah, I've heard crackheads do that too. Downtown. Wow. You know what's scary though? You don't know what you're going to get because there are people who have messaged me and they play these clips, Barb, and they'll say, this was a such and such. And I'm like, you don't know what that was because you don't know what you're going to get. Like the Penelope thing, that guy heard the shrieking. Yeah. Okay, so Maddie, we should have had her say that, what happened to her. She was on a post the other night, Barb, and she had what she thought was a woman screaming and screaming and screaming. So she called the police. It was down off of Congress here in Austin. And the police came and they told her, because she's the security, and they said, we have had several calls of a woman screaming. Now they thought, okay, well, they couldn't locate who or what it was. And they just said, well, hopefully this person's not, bad, nothing bad. Yeah. But then she heard it on another night and another night. And then I have 3 other guards that had come and told me the same thing.
Do you guys have cougars or pumas or anything?
Yeah, but not in the middle of the city,
Oh, okay.
I know what you're going to say, because they sound like
they sound exactly like women screaming. Yeah.
And Scorpion will never forgive me because we were when I first started my company, we were out at the lake, by the lake, and there was a woman that I was working for. She was a really sweet lady. She owned a huge ranch out in Brenham. And her husband he was in the oil business, and he had just really hit the mother load. And so he immediately goes out and cheats on her with like a 20-year-old.
Oh, jeez.
And she took him to the cleaners, man.
Good for her.
So be it. You shouldn't be messing around, like, well, see ya.
Yeah.
And so, but she was a really nice lady, and she took him to the woodshed or whatever. So she was building this. Now it'd be $12 million, but it was worth $4 million a home. It was the first account I had.
Oh, okay.
And her friend was this woman that was sisters with the guy that owns this big restaurant out there. Really wealthy people. And I started working for him. Then I got the docks, and I got the next thing. The rest is history. I ended up getting this place called the Via Montagna, and I started my business. And we were off and running. And this is crazy. I left Scorpion out there, Barb. He said I left him out there to die. Okay, whatever, dude. Yeah, there were cougars out there, and there had been a foal that had been attacked. And the sheriff's department came out. I don't think it was a cougar that did it. Yeah. I don't. But there were cougars out there. I think it was Canaan that did it, and I'm not going to go, oh, it was Dogman, but yeah, I do think it was something along those lines. But
Could be. Yeah.
so we were out there, and Scorpion, he's calling me. I'm in town having to get supplies and some other stuff. It was way out there in Comanche Trail, right? Which is a haunted canyon place anyway. And everybody says, well, there's cougars out there. Yes, we know. And so he heard this screaming going back and forth. He goes, dude, there's like a woman screaming out here, and then there's another woman answering her.
Oh gosh.
So I go back out there, meet my cousin Bo, because Bo was out in that area because he waited tables at that restaurant. And he comes out, then he calls me, and he goes, hey man, because Scorpion's a city boy, right? And Bo was a country boy. And Bo goes, there's cougars out here. And I said, are you sure? He goes, yes, I'm sure. Yes. He goes, yes, this is a cougar, bro. And then he kind of plays the phone, like he kind of recorded. Back then our phones weren't real, but you could record.
Yeah.
And I kind of heard it, and he's like, that's off in the distance. So I show up, and Scorpion's like mad. He's like, I told you for like 3 hours that there were women screaming, and you know what cougars sound like, and you left me here. And I'm like, dude, you have pepper spray. Duh. If a cougar attacks, everybody knows. Shove the pepper spray into its mouth and run. Like that's the formula, right? He was mad, right, Anthony? When he talks about it, right?
Yeah.
He gets all emotional.
Full of
like
sore spot.
He gets a sore spot. Like I left him out there to be eaten. I said, there's a wall. He goes, they climb walls, and they had these videos that he'd been looking at. Like, you're scaring yourself. I said, we don't even know if there are cougars there. This is a true story, Barb. Get this. The next night, that was like a Thursday. So like Saturday night, we're driving through Villa Montana, and we had to do this little check thing, right? So Scorp gets out and goes, takes pictures of the pool, jumps back in. We go around to the next place, and there's like, they all have these swimming pools, right? The rich people, they all have a swimming pool, all of them. So we're driving and whatever, and he goes, what is that? And I see, it wasn't huge. It wasn't huge. You tried to say it was a monster. It wasn't no big monster. It was a like a juvenile cougar, mountain lion. Runs out in front of the truck. He makes a big deal out of it. He goes, look, there's a cougar right there. I could have been killed. And I'm like, I said, what, dude? Calm down. It's a baby. He goes, there's a baby. There's a mama and a dad. I'm like, you know nothing about cougars, sir. I was like, what you heard was probably on the other side of Hippie Hollow, and the other one was probably way on the other side of freaking, Williamson County. You don't know where it was at. He said, no, one of them was right there down on that holler, and the other one was right there by the lake, by the restaurant. And I was like, you don't know that. So I just kind of stuck by my guns. Next day, the owner from the restaurant was one of our clients. He comes up there, and he's like, hey, guys, y'all be careful, man. A cougar killed one of our neighbor's dogs right up the street here.
No.
And I stand there. He's over there like all mad looking. And I was like, are you sure it was a cougar? And Bo, he's like, not. His name is Bo too, actually, the guy that owns it. And he goes, yeah, he's a Cajun dude, right, from Port Arthur. He goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a cougar. It's my doctor. He lives right over there. And I'm like, and I'm over there. I'm walking closer to his SUV going, he's like, are you okay, Wolf? You're scratching. What's going on? I'm like, no, I'm not. Just, I said, I'm not sure it's a cougar. We're jumping to conclusions here. He goes, no, we found the footprints. Really? We have pictures. I'm like, God dang it, this is getting worse. So he drives off, and I was like, those pictures could have been there from a long time ago. We don't even know.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's like, yeah, I told you for like 3 hours. I was like, I was busy. I already told you I was busy. Truth is, I did probably just go back into town and go to sleep. But that thing, I was tired. I had been working a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And I did stop and eat Sonic and some other things. But it was all for the cause. It was because, Home Depot was closed. They don't stay open past 11 until so I had things to do. And he took it all personal and stuff. And he could have been killed and whatever.
Yeah.
But it was pretty messed up. Like just 2 days later, we see a cougar ran across in front of our truck. And I was like, I knew immediately he was going to go, yeah, man, that's a cougar.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I was like, you're from Montopolis in the city. What do you know about a cougar? It was only the second time I'd ever seen one in my life, but and I was like, I acted like I was an expert on it. Cougars do not come to this area. They don't like the deer meat here. The deer here are very gamey. They don't prefer it.
Yeah.
You know, but because he was going and telling the other guards and scaring them too. I was like, don't be telling them people that because then they're gonna be scared to go to work. He's like, well, if there's a Kruger here, they need to know. I said, unlike you, they have a vehicle, okay? So they can protect them. You're the one that was dumb and didn't have a vehicle and was sitting out in the open to be killed. That's your fault.
Yeah.
Really, it's your fault. I mean, you brought it on yourself. I'm just saying. we can split technical hairs here, but at the end of the day, you being poor without a vehicle is really what caused it. That's all I'm saying. He's like, you're my boss. You pay me. I was like, overpay you? Yes. Yes. You choose to buy things that are not a vehicle, that's on you. That's all I can say about that. You know, to this day, it's like 20 years later. Well, it's not 20 years, but it's like 18 years later. He's still like, I could have been killed, you know, whatever.
Then you
like the time we were putting up the Christmas lights and he fell off the roof and he was like, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. And he'd go to the hospital. I'm like, dude, this guy complains about everything. Good grief. Can't catch a break from these people. What is it with you people? You know? Okay. All right, Barb. Thank you for coming on. We're going to record.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a blast.
It's been fun, and we're gonna record. You got some really cool audio.
Let
That's
me
why
know.
I was kind of like, I knew you had some audio, but I wanted to save it because I wanted.
Let me know. Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah,
For sure.
and I'm open to whatever because I don't know for sure. You know, I've had some of it spectrograms done, so you know, but I don't. I'm always open to whatever.
I don't judge, man. Like I get audio and pictures all the time, and I don't repost it because you know what? It just starts arguments.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't. I made a mistake the other day in the Paranormal Roundtable group. Posted something, 257 argument comments, and you're later. You're like, oh, yes, just you know, This is why we can't have nice things.
Right.
You know? it's like my mother. You know.
Because this is why.
Exactly. My mom would use that for everything. She was just like, you know why we can't go to Six Flags, pendejo? And I'm thinking, because you're cheap? She's like, no, because you broke the lamp back 2 years ago in the summer vacation. What? Yeah, that's what happened. When now you go drink Kool-Aid with the other friend. What?
Oh, I thought I was the only one that ruined vacations. Family.
Oh, you ruined it. You ruined it. Yeah. And she's like, you remember that trip we went to Port Aransas and you saw the jellyfish and everybody got scared? Like, what does that have to do with anything? That's what's going to happen on the roller coasters. For real. Don't even ask. Okay, Barb, I'm going to let you run.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for having me. It's been
Yeah,
great.
Barb Hartman, everybody. I'll see you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right. So that's Barb. She's a really cool person in this field and done a lot of work, you know. And so we're going to record with her. You know, and so that's where we're going to get a lot of the audios and things like that. So definitely. What's up, Slim Jimmy? He says, great show tonight. What's up? I love Slim Jimmy. If you haven't heard, Jim was on the show one time. His show that he did with us, you remember he had a woman that cursed him or something like that, but she was too hot. He couldn't leave her. He was like, yeah, but that was yesterday. That was in the past. I was like, well, she cursed you, but it was yesterday, bro, right? It's all good now. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. She just, you know, but she was ugly. That's the difference between an ugly, for a guy. Guys are so superficial. Not just Jimmy, me, all of us. We are. Don't lie.
Yeah.
You're very superficial. You see a pretty girl, she could be robbing you at gunpoint. You're like, dang, she looks good. I'm not going to lie. She's like, give me your wallet. Oh, yeah, yes. But yeah, the wallet. Sorry. I'm just saying, you're pretty good looking. You know,
actually, you got off easy. Like if a pretty girl robs you, I mean, financially speaking,
you win.
Yeah, because the alternative is dating her, and then you just be there goes everything.
Yeah, that's it. But then
she just robs you once.
But let me tell you something though. If an ugly girl is being nice to you, you find a reason why. You're like, why is this woman talking to me? Why are you talking to me? She just walks by your car. You're picking up a rock. What are you trying to break in my car? You're gonna throw a rock at her because she's ugly. Like, get away from my car, you ugly. What are you doing? And you know that, right? And Jimmy said, guys are simple creatures. We are. Food, you know, procreate, sleep. That's it. You know, I mean, in the basic functions. That's kind of, you know. I don't even know why they had to make a song. Mama told me to be a simple man. Why does mama need to tell you that? You know you're going to do what you're going to do, right? You're just going to be a simple person. You don't need to be told that. But seriously, though, I mean, like guys, I promise you, dude, your friends, they're your friends until a woman is involved. Then they'll leave you on the side of the road and your insulin or whatever medication you need to survive is in their glove compartment, they're not dropping it back off. They'll leave it at the next 2 blocks up to where a crackhead, you have to fight a crackhead and some rats to get it. Right?
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, you left my medication's in there. I need it. I can't, they'll be like, oh man, I'm with this girl. I can't, look, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to throw it out the window. It's 2 blocks up the street. You get up there and there's a crackhead. Hey, what's this? And you're like, you got to fight him with a stick and there's some rats and whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're still bros before hoes, right? Until that happens. You can talk about it all day long. You even practice it. You plan it. You prepare for it with your friends. You're like, okay, we're going to stick together, right, guys? We're going to do what the women do. We're going to stick together, and we're not going to be suckered in, right? Because, we're not buying drinks for all these girls, right? We're going to buy drinks for each other, right? Man, you get up there and you got a friend. Hey, give me $20, man. What happened? Wow, there were some girls at a bachelorette party. Hey, I bought them all drinks. Where's the ATM? It's like you're gambling. Yeah. It's like you're at a casino. You're like, well,
someone had to do it, man.
I'm trying to get us all hooked up here. Bro. I'm trying to get hooked up here. I'm like, they're over there dancing with some other guys. Okay, yeah, I got a plan. We're going to fight those guys. We're going to beat them to death, and we're going to leave with them. That's a horrible idea. Here's the other plan. You guys go and fight them, and I'll wait. When it's over, I'll take care of them. It's the guy who doesn't get totally drunk. That's how you win, folks. That's the guy that wins. I've been that guy that got too drunk, and I've been the guy that stayed a little bit sober. Much better to just kind of sip your drink a little bit and let the guys get all drunk, and then when you talk, you sound like a sane person. They sound like poop-flinging monkeys. They're like, hey, and the woman's like, oh. You're like, excuse my friends. They've been drinking Long Island iced teas all night. Me, on the other hand, I've had a couple beers and a White Claw. You win. You win. Some dude advice for you youngsters out there, right? Ply your friends with shots. Give them shots. And when they go to drink the shot, go, and then kind of set it back down. Get another round, ply them with shots, and then go, and then eventually on the third one, you take a shot. So the rule is Wolf's Rules, life lessons, running a bar for almost a decade. I ran a bar. You only drink every third shot. Meanwhile, your friends are literally turning into apes in front of you. And then when the girls come, they're like, pretty woman. They're like, ew, quit touching my hands. What are you doing? Don't touch my hair. And you're just like, let me explain. They were all adopted. Yes, they were all adopted, and their mother was a big crackhead. And they're like, really? They're all adopted? Yes, that's why some of them are white, some of them are black, Hispanic. Yeah, it's this whole crazy thing. I took mercy on them. I took pity on them. They were my neighbors' foster children. I played with them, and I helped teach them language and skills and fire, things like that. Once I taught them about fire, the whole house went up in flames. What are you going to do? They're like, you did that for them? Yes, I did. Yes. I did. Yeah. And now take them to the bar for a little recreation and fun, and look what happens. They're like, you're so sweet and so articulate. And they're like, yes, that too. You win. And then they get mad because you get all the ladies. Look, it's not my fault that you have a lust for women and booze. Right? And then they get mad because you drive the girls home and you leave them at the bar. Look, they got home. They didn't have any money, so they had to steal a car or whatever, and then they get a record. And then they blame you because they're on paper, It's not my fault. It's not. Blame it on the alcohol. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We had a great time, right? We always do. We had a great time last, what was it? We were on Wednesday. We had a great show, 6 hours. 6 hours of shit talk. So, anyways, we love you. Thank you for tuning in to Paranormal Roundtable. You are what makes the show tick. Without you, I'm just a crazy man babbling to myself, which I do anyway. but it's just much funner to have an audience, right? Okay, guys, thank you. We'll see us when Sunday. We'll be here on Sunday.
Yes.
I was going to do impromptu tomorrow because I got a guy who's got a hell of a story, but I'm going to bring him on Sunday, and we're going to start the show with that, and he's going to tell it on Sunday. I got to do it. Dude, it is a freaky Dogman story, and I'm going to let this guy tell it. He's a good storyteller. He's going to tell it. So we're going to call him, and we're going to have him tell that story. All right? Thank you for tuning in. We had a great time. We'll see you on Sunday. Let's play it out here.
Nervousness born from the earth, my madness came by storm. I heard heaven and hell, but how can I be mad? Across the table, I'll tell you the tale. I wanted for nothing from the old man, not even gold. I'll tell no lie, it was the old man's eye, a veiled pale blue eye. Peering into it, my blood ran cold, and my heart is where I hold a secret plan for this old man. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. You may think me mad, but how for madness knows nothing. I sit here, my mind clear, this tale I tell. Are these the sounds from hell? 7 days I crept planning, but never did the eye reveal itself till that night. A slip, a sound, awakened did he, but I could not flee. I felt his fear that we tried to comfort and steer his dread, for he lay back in his bed. In flash I jumped on him, dragging him down. Now no more sound, he lie there, dead on the ground. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. Both fear and glee swept over me. No one would ever find the body. Sometime now they came, sat chatting, but I could hear it, the heart beating. It grew louder and louder, I could no longer contain myself as I slid the chair. They still stayed there, not leaving, my anxiety rising. Could they not hear the beating heart coming from beyond the dark? No longer could I stand it, came my admittance. Here it is, the beating of his hideous heart. A descent into madness, it can